The second episode of the Revenite podcast is definitely a special one. I'll probably never forget it. I got to sit down with Chris Avellone, my favorite writer of all time. He is one of the guys responsible for some of my favorite games: Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, Fallout New Vegas, Planescape Torment, and many others. We got to talk about a lot of different things, including some of those games I mentioned there: potential KOTOR 3, the Fallout TV show, the Boys TV show, Game of Thrones, and so much more. This was a blast. You're definitely going to want to hang around for this one. Enjoy.
I don't know if you ever saw that movie, The Quiet Place Day One, but the one protagonist motivation of scouring New York to find her one favorite pizza place absolutely resonated with me. I'm like, that works for me. I can
Yep.
understand it.
Yep. That was the second one they did when it came out like 2 years ago, or third
I
one.
think maybe the third one.
Third
I
one
don't,
they did.
yeah.
Yeah.
I liked all three. I thought all three are pretty good.
Yeah, no, very interesting concept. And I mean, first couple like Emily Blunt, Krasinski, those two. I mean, I know they're a thing, but I mean, they you can see the chemistry in those movies, right? Like you believe it when you see it, type thing. So, no, really good stuff. It reminds me of Zombieland when Woody Harrelson's always trying to get the Twinkie. And all the Twinkies, they're always smashed every time. But
He's so brokenhearted. I actually dressed up as him for Halloween one year and had a backpack full of Twinkies. And the next morning, the owner of the house is, where did all these fucking Twinkies come from? And I'm like, this guy.
No, I love it. That's awesome. Man, yeah, I mean, I was looking at your resume, and there's Dying Light 2, it's a lot of zombies. There's so many different games out there, and I wanted to talk Fallout originally and just kind of keep it 50-50, but you've done a lot of Fallout stuff recently.
Oh, yeah. Fallout?
Yeah, a lot of Fallout stuff recently.
Is that a...
Yeah, it's a critically acclaimed TV show. It's the biggest. It's the greatest TV show of all time. Yeah.
Great.
People will remind you how. I mean, honestly, like I don't know what's better, The Boys or Fallout. The most recent season. I can't decide.
Are you a Boys hater?
I'll tell you this. I don't know if you would. I think the older I get, the more I'm cynical towards stuff in general. Unfortunately, sometimes I hate that I am that way. I enjoyed the first 3 seasons, but the last couple, and I'm curious to your take on this, because I think that I think you're going to have a nuanced perspective on this, but I think that there's a time when you can do the satire thing. And I think that there's a time when you can overdo it. I know you've talked about this before. I'm not meaning to kind of hit on the Fallout 2 thing, but there's a time when you can like hit it on the head towards like, okay, we get it kind of thing. And I feel like they've been there for 2 seasons with like the Trump stuff and then also the sex jokes and the constant like characters say the same kind of things, and like we're now at the end and it feels like we haven't made any ground and we just had butt sniffing jokes in the penultimate episode. I'm curious to hear your take on as a whole and in the last couple seasons, if you love it, if you hate it, if you're in between.
Well, first off, I would agree with you on the jokes. It gets a little tiresome when every new super that's introduced just has some gross anatomical superpower, and you're like, I get the joke, but it's not funny anymore. It's just like, okay, well, you guys are just wasting our time. Let's move on to what the real crux of the conflict is.
Mm-hmm.
So I did read the Boys graphic novel series all the way through, and that had its ups and downs, but overall I liked it. And I'm like, okay, I see what the theme of the series is. I feel like the TV show is also going in that direction, which is good. What I do like about it, and this is another reason like I like Chainsaw Man, is I feel like Butcher is one of those characters where they slide him into the plot line, and some viewers instantly think that that's going to make him the hero because he's on the screen so much. He's leading the charge. But really, Butcher is just as much of a monster as Homelander is. And I think that opposition is really interesting because, like, I mean, the last few episodes, Butcher is doing some comically evil stuff. Like, he's doing some comically super villain stuff, and you're like, oh, so he's actually, like, this is the last season. Like, now he's in that role. So I appreciate that because it's different. It's interesting. Like, really, only Huey, I think, is only the super good guy in that whole situation. Anyway, that said, what has surprised me though, and I don't want to get all political. So this season of The Boys was filmed like probably last year.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
What's crazy is what's happening in the episodes is now happening in the real world.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, I'm not even sure it's parody anymore because it's not even satire because they did it before.
Yeah,
like,
the statue thing. Yeah.
Anyway, so I am curious to see what the final episode is like. I don't think the plot line from the graphic novels would have translated as well into the TV series, and they're doing the best they can. It's not the best show in the world, but I do enjoy watching it.
Yeah, I mean, I would say casually I enjoy it. It's just that I don't know. I guess when Eric Rippey came out and said, did you want a big battle every episode? I'm like, kinda. In this last season, yeah, like I kinda want like some. I feel like we just have a lot of ground to make up with one episode left. I'm curious to see how it goes. But I was actually talking to my buddy about this earlier. The exact same thing you're talking about with kind of the satire and how real life is becoming. It's almost like you're competing against like this reality that is almost too fun. It's almost funnier than your show, if that makes sense. It's like real life politics today. It's almost hard to make satire of it because it's genuinely horrifyingly so in some instances. But like, it's crazy. It's like almost funnier than you can write. It's like you can't. How do you do parody of something that's so already satirical? It's difficult. You know what I mean? Like it's interesting.
It's an interesting challenge, and I'm very curious to see how they wrap it all up too. I will say another thing I enjoy about this series is sometimes they showcase superpowers in a different light, in a interesting way. Like, and I'm not talking about the Deep. I'm talking about Sage. So when you first encounter Sage in her apartment in the Seven Tower or whatever, and there's a lobotomy needle, like on the table, and no one says anything about it, yet suddenly she's stupid. Loved it. I'm like, what is going on here? And then when I found out the answer, I'm like, that does make sense. I mean, it's crazy, but it does make sense. And there was some effort to include a lot of interesting details like that. And also, sometimes the backgrounds of those characters can kind of surprise you because, like, I didn't have very high expectations for Firecracker. But once they started digging down into her background, like I felt really bad for her. I'm like, oh my God, like this is the worst. And like that whole sequence where she breaks down on TV, like I know it's melodramatic and over the top, but like it was painful. And like the way she was delivering those lines was fucking just it was crushing.
Yeah, she increased her stock in that show. Just, I mean, that's how you know you have a good actor there, is when you have those episodes where it focuses on a certain character for any stretch, and all of a sudden, like, you do care about them. Like in the beginning, you're like, okay, we're gonna waste like 30 minutes on this character, and then you're like, at the end of it, you're like, wow, like now you actually are invested. That is good writing, and that's also good acting, bringing that to life, I would say. I will say, and I didn't expect us to go this route. I'm happy that we have, but that's why I like these things. I will say the Sister Sage thing. You know, when you present someone as the smartest person in the world, you kind of run into a trap, I think, because I don't know how to say this, and I'm trying to be nice, but like I feel like characters can only be as smart as the person writing them. And I feel like you can't, I don't know, when you're watching it, it's like, shouldn't she have seen this coming? Shouldn't she like have an answer for this? Shouldn't everything be going to plan? And maybe the last episode, in the last minute, she's like, haha, exactly how I wrote it up, right? And she's, the last episode is she's like in a vault reading the book or something in the last minute. Who knows? But I don't know, I was expecting more from her.
I
than
agree.
breaking
And
down.
whenever like they reveal like a super intelligent character, like you're saying, like
Hmm.
I also have high expectations because in order to be smart, that person has to convey they've figured out just about everything about a situation.
Hmm.
And Sage doesn't always hit that mark. But what I thought was interesting was, sure, she's the smartest person in the world, or supposedly, but because her agenda is crazy, it doesn't
Hmm.
matter
Yeah,
because she's
that's a good
doing
point.
all these super smart things in in service of a crazy agenda, and that sells it for me. I'm like, okay, that explains it away. Even though I'm a little disappointed because I like my Brainiac characters, but I can understand how that personal motivation actually undermines all the smart things she could be doing. So there's that. One last thing
Yeah.
in the board before you go. So another thing I like about it is every dialogue sequence with Homelander scares the shit out of me.
Yep.
Like, and I'm not even the one he's talking to. I'm like, is this person going to survive this conversation? And I'm
Hmm.
like, this is the epitome of dialogue combat for a flat and for a writer like me. Like, I love situations like that, even when they scare me. I'm like, wow, how would you try and talk down Homelander in this situation? Like, would you appeal to his ego? Would you try and like, throw yourself at the mercy of the court? Like, because like you're there's a very good chance you're going to die, and you're just talking to this guy. So seeing that tension in the dialogue, and Firecracker really gave it a shot.
Yeah, she
But
did.
but I mean that whole dialogue sequence with a character like Homelander, I also find interesting because, like, as a narrative designer, I'm like, wow, I could see a situation where you're trying to go up against someone like that, and that dialogue may be all that stands between you and getting incinerated.
You know what's amazing about that, Chris, that you just hit on there is, she probably was good to go. I mean, she probably was gonna survive. And then she said the one thing, well, there's many things that probably could have gotten her killed there, but she almost got too real with Homelander and struck a real nerve with him because he doesn't want to be alone. He doesn't want to be abandoned. And when he kind of felt that need because of what she was saying and how powerful she was delivering it, it triggered that in him. And that's probably what she said, almost the perfect thing to get herself killed in that situation. She almost went too far with it and really kind of struck a chord with him. You know what I mean? That's almost what's so cool about the character. So,
Carter, I like for the first for 90% of her speech there, I'm like, she's made her speech check. I'm like,
mhm.
oh, going really like she was selling me. And then that's exactly what you're saying. Like, and it's that last 10% where like you have to really understand Homelander and how divorced he is from humanity at this point to understand his reaction to that. And I'm like, wow, like, but the thing is, like, I'll think about it. And I'm like, oh, well, that was a much more complex situation than I think, than a superhero battle, even though we still need those. But for me, I felt that was a really good dialogue interaction sequence. It was tense. I didn't know how it was going to play out. I genuinely thought that like it wasn't going to last more than 5 seconds, but then it goes on for quite a while, and I'm like, okay, my head's nodding. I'm like, all right, this is saying all the right things. She's speaking from the heart. Didn't matter.
Reminds me of Dean Domino in a way. And you're going to be like, hey, how do you draw this? How do you connect those dots? Well, because my whole life, I'm like, dude, I cannot get this guy to survive. I got to kill this guy every time. And then you're like, oh well, I read on. I cheated. I read online. I'm like, how can I make it happen? You cannot persuade this guy because it'll like hurt his ego or something. You got to kind of feed into it and let him do his thing so that you can eventually. I thought that is really genius. I think really because instinctively for me, anytime I see a check, I want to pass the check every time,
You
and
know that
that's good.
that's something. By the way, we should put an asterisk by that because we should go back to that speech check thing because there's some design elements there I'd love to get into that actually apply to Star Wars too. But the speech, but in terms of Dean Domino, what I thought you were going to draw a comparison with is the fact that Dean Domino doesn't seem to understand how two people would love each other and sacrifice for each other. Like,
Mm,
completely alien to him. And for me, like, I'm like, well, that borders on sociopath. Where I'm
mm,
like, because even his ending slide admits that he just doesn't understand that part of human
Mhm.
emotion. And I'm like, and that's your prison, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I gotta tell you that DLC. I know you talked to. I don't know if it was TK. I've listened to a couple podcasts from you recently, but one of them you were talking about how um, I think you don't love the Sierra Madre DLC as much as I think a lot of people do, if I'm not mistaken. Right? Don't you have some issues? Like, for example, I love the collar thing. I think it's awesome. I think it creates a situation where you do need to. It's like it's another thing you have to get over, if that makes sense. I love that you are stripped of everything you have. I think that presents a very unique situation. I think that the horror elements are what draw me in. It's such a, I mean, it scared the shit out of me, man. When I was, what
Good.
was
All
that,
right.
2012? I would have been what, 2011? I think that was. I would have been what, 15? And I was like, it felt so different towards every single thing I've played it in Fallout to that point, um, to where it really struck me. And I gotta say, I think I'm one of the few guys where Old World Blues, I think I was one of the guys where it's like it felt a little bit Mothership Zeta y to me. Because you talk about it too, and a lot of people love it. I think that's like one of the most famous DLCs, famous things you've ever done. And then for me, like it's kind of funny, like in your perspective or some people's perspective rather. I feel like I like the stuff that everyone else is like the other thing on. Because Old World Blues, would you agree? You probably get the most love or praise for that one.
Yeah, I think Dead Money has a problem in that it sort of takes the core gameplay mechanics of New Vegas and then restricts them. And I think that's always a dangerous thing to do with players. But I will say that what you just said makes me very happy because you got all the stuff that I was hoping a player would suddenly see it as a new challenge in the sense of, okay, well, like I now have to craft stuff. Like I don't have like 2,000 stem packs anymore to heal,
Yeah.
and these enemies behave this way. It's a little different than the rest of the Mojave. Like, and the idea was to just shake up the experience a little bit for players who are probably already like level 40 or whatever. So,
Yeah.
and again, like it was all in service to, well, what would make this survival horror, and then we just made a bunch of decisions based on that. Um, Also, our lead level designer. Charlie Staples, he came in one day and he's like, have you seen this game Amnesia? And I'm like, I have not. He goes, I think you should play it. And I did. And I'm like, oh my God, there's so many horror and scare mechanics in Amnesia that just totally work, where I'm like, whatever we can leverage, let's do it.
Amnesia. Why have I've heard of, I've never
It's,
played it,
it's done
but
by
I've
the
heard of
Chinese
it.
room. It's like a horror. It's not exactly a walking simulator since you're doing various things as you journey, but it's definitely a very scary hardcore
Do
horror
you
experience.
do you like scary horror games? You like Evil Within and the new like Resident Evil, big Resident Evil guy maybe?
Yeah, although I haven't played the latest
I
one.
haven't played the latest one either. I'm excited to. I imagine you probably don't game as much as you wish you could. I would
You are
imagine.
absolutely correct.
Yeah. And I would also imagine the thing that you probably have is, and I have this too in things that I do, but like when you're playing a game, you can't enjoy it like a regular person. You're probably playing a game and you're like critically analyzing everything instead of just playing through it, just relaxing and kicking it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, so you're absolutely right. So to expand on that, if I'm not writing or doing design on a game in the moment, then I'm usually playing a build of the game. And
Mm,
then I get exhausted with that where I'm like, hey, now it's like 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. or whatever. I don't necessarily have the energy to go play another game,
mm,
especially if it's not a good game or if it's
mm.
got like a very evident flaws. And that's kind of the problem because you sit down with a game and in that first hour, if you're a game designer, you're like analyzing everything about, where they drop the ball and the UI is pissing you off, whether it's not.
That's
But
all you can think
sometimes,
about the whole time.
yeah, but then you luck out, and sometimes you just get some, really smooth, great games. Like I didn't buy Cyberpunk on launch, but I did buy it a year ago to catch up. And with all the fixes now, I just jumped right in. it was pretty smooth sailing. And I'm like, I'm just enjoying myself. Like I was on alert for like UI issues and design bugs, and it did crash a few times, but it was easy to get back into the game. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm enjoying this experience. So there are games out there where I don't have to think about stuff like that.
CD Projekt Red, what they have done with, Witcher 3, that's really what turned me on to them. I think that's in my top 3 games of all time, easily. And it's actually a very interesting thing to think about, because a lot of things, I have a take on this, but I want to present it to you. A lot of people who, you talk about RPGs, and I know Witcher 3 is not really a true RPG. It's kind of on, it's an action RPG more so, but people are like, okay, voice protagonist versus non-voice protagonist. And for me, I'm going to prefer non-voice. I think that you would probably agree to that.
But it does depend on the franchise, but yeah, you're right.
Depends on the franchise, exactly, because the ones that do it the best, in my opinion, are Witcher 3, where like I can't imagine it being any other way. And then the Mass Effect trilogy, I thought really did a good job with it. But Fallout 4, and I casually enjoy Fallout 4. I'm not one of those guys that like hate Fallout 4 that you read, and I know this gets you killed, man. Fallout 4 Fallout fans are like as crazy as Star Wars fans, I would say. But what's your take on the voice? I want to hear like your overall. Is it just kind of depends upon what you're doing? Like, what's your take on voice versus non-voice, would you say?
Well, I mean, to get the franchise point out of the way, obviously it doesn't feel right if you're playing Witcher and you're not getting Geralt's voice, obviously, or his appearance. Totally get that, or Ciri's. They have to sound a certain way, they have to look a certain way, and you're going to be that role. Now, I don't think that lessens the role playing. Like I do think it narrows your customization options, but you're still role playing a character.
Sure.
However, if that's not part of the equation, then I think what a voiceless protagonist does is it allows the player to imagine more about how their character is saying something, like what their tone is. And I think that allows a player to connect with the game more versus having it all spoon fed to them.
Bingo.
And more it's spoon fed, like it's more passive. And that's not really what you want for a game. And also, to be honest, when I choose the dialogue option, like I've read through it. Like I don't want to hear it again. Like I know it. I just want to click through it. Like, and then we have voiceless protagonists. It's a lot easier to keep that pace going.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's also games where like, you select the option and then the guy says something completely different than what you said. It's like, wait, what? That's not what I wanted to say. It's like, anyway, it's like in the other tone. You know what I mean? It's like, anyway.
Yeah, I think there was some shopkeeper dialogue in Mass Effect where that happened, where like you're supposed to like refuse the service, or you're challenging like the prices, and then like suddenly your character like goes outside the shop at the station and starts shouting about like how you're being mistreated. And I'm like, my shop would never do this. Like this is embarrassing for both me and you.
Yeah, no, it's hilarious. I don't Viva La Dirt League. I think they had a bit on that. They're a fantastic YouTube channel. I think that's really key. What you said there is the connection part of it, and I think when you have a character who, I don't know how to, because Shepard can be any Shepard that you create in Mass Effect, whereas Geralt is Geralt, right? Just you can shave the beard or cut the hair. I think with SWTOR, one of the problems, Star Wars: The Old Republic, that I had with it, and I love the game, it's like one of my favorite games of all time, but one of the problems that I have that other people don't seem to have with it is because it's voiced and they repeat a lot of the same lines because budget reasons and stuff like that, but I can't quite connect to the character like some people are able to do. Like a true RPG, you can connect to the character. I just can't seem to bridge that gap for some reason with the voiced character on a lot of games, if that makes sense.
With SWTOR, did you go through all the profession paths?
Yeah.
Did that distance yourself from the characters in the sense, like, did you feel like you were just following the same path everyone else did? Because I heard like a lot of the professions actually had really good stories, and some of them even surprised me because I didn't think like Imperial Inquisitor would be something, or Imperial Agent would be something that anyone would actually want to choose. But I heard the storyline for it was really good. So but again, like, but to your question of like, Yeah, but it was like, but that game was causing some distance to your character. Like, did that factor into it at all, or was it something?
I don't know what it is. It's not just that franchise. You know, the Fallout 4 have the same problem. There's probably another game I can think about where there's a voice protagonist that I'm just not thinking of right now. But it didn't happen with Witcher, but I actually enjoyed a lot of the Star Wars The Old Republic characters. I just didn't feel like connected to them. And I don't know if that's because it's an MMO and I knew it was an MMO and like really like, you know, you can jump onto another character when you're done with this character, and it's not like a single player game where this is the titular character and I'm following this character. I don't know if that contributed to it, because you're right. Um, the agent was an incredible story. I mean, that was a true RPG within that game, where it was probably the only one where you could actually play and have several different playthroughs playing it several different times if you wanted to, right? And you're not just picking the same choice. Whereas the other ones were more so, you know, evil or light side kind of thing, if that makes sense. So I'm not sure what made that connection. But I will say this, and I want to touch on it before we get into the KOTOR stuff, and that's really kind of where I want to spend the beef, you know, most of the time on. But with a lot of the TV shows out there, you know, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on why this is, but you know, think Star Wars and how it's become so watered down. And there's that Mandalorian and Grogu movie which came out, which I know you were lined up to, the first guy to see at midnight. Then we had Rings of Power, right? That came out with Lord of the Rings. We've got the Fallout show. We've got the Witcher TV show, which I pray for Henry Cavill every night that he had to go through that. What's your take on like franchises kind of getting watered down with these? Like, is it just there's too much content with some of them? Is it just, hey, greedy capitalism, we want to make money on this and we just need to hire as many writers as possible and there's no clear design? Like, how does this happen with all these IPs that are beloved?
You know, that's a good question. So I actually think the Fallout TV show is actually, I mean, despite the fact it has, you know, a tone, lore stuff that I disagree with, but that doesn't change the fact that as far as Amazon's concerned, and, you know, it's generating its revenue, no problem. Like, it's a successful show. Like, within Amazon, I heard this with the grapevine. So within Amazon, as soon as they announced that they were doing a Fallout show, people are allowed to like submit requests to work on shows at Amazon. Okay. And apparently Fallout, as soon as that was announced, it got the highest amount of people within Amazon Studios replying back saying they wanted to work on it. And Makes I totally and yeah. And to be honest, like that show has been doing very well for Amazon. I doubt Rings of Power has been doing anywhere close to that. And I don't know if the lore is necessarily watered down in Rings of Power as much as it's kind of like going off the beaten path where you're like, I'm not sure where you're going with this. But
right.
Yeah. And so that's a problem. But The Witcher, I've met some of the writers that worked on Witcher, and it was pretty apparent what the problem was. They just don't care about the lore. Like, they didn't care at all.
That was Henry's problem, right? Yeah, I think
they just want to write their own thing. And like, they're like, okay, well, I understand what the game Witcher was trying to do and the Witcher novels were trying to do, but like, we're not going to read all that or absorb all that. We're just going to go in a completely brand new direction and like do our own take on things. I'm like, I get it. Like, you want to like deliver a story with your tone, but like, when you completely ignore everything else about the universe that fans appreciate and know, and Henry Cavill knows, then you're going to get a non-Witcher experience. So like you're saying, like maybe watered down would be a polite way to put it, but it's almost like it's also damaging what The Witcher is. Where you're like, this isn't anything like like books or like the game I went through, and like you saw all the backlashes online when like certain characters, like Yennefer was great, no problem. But as soon as Triss appeared, like suddenly all this feedback comes back. Did she look like the game? You know, it's all that stuff. I think on some level, like Hollywood should just learn to respect the franchise they're writing for versus we're Hollywood. We can do it better than those silly game writers ever could. Because like that's honestly the vibe you get from a lot of Hollywood writers, or at least the ones that I've worked with, where it's like they are a little superior. They have to be the loudest person in the room. They have to shout an idea for it to win, and no good idea ever comes out of any of those any of that pipeline. But they're convinced that they can do a better job, and they just don't. And I don't know if it's a mystery to them as why it's not hitting the right notes, but it's pretty simple to me. You're not respecting the franchise you're writing for. So.
Yeah, I don't know what maybe it's just one of those things. You know, Brandon Sanderson's talked about this quite a bit in his. He's got a great series of lectures he does for writers, and you know, he talks about how all these big companies, you know, they want like the next Game of Thrones. Give us the next Game of Thrones. You know, give us the next Sopranos. Give us the next this. Give us the next that. You know, they're always looking for that. And maybe it's one of those situations where it's like, oh, we can take the IP of Lord of the Rings. Now we can create this whole new thing that's going to become the next Game of Thrones. We got The Witcher now. Now we can kind of create this whole thing. And it's like, guys, you're no George R. R. Martin. You know what I mean? It's like stick to what's there. You're not.
You got it. Like
so.
And with the Game of Thrones example, that's perfect because they tried to do. They're trying to do the same thing with House of the Dragon. It's not working. But the best part about it is the one show that is closely following George R. R. Martin's story, and he's very involved in, as far as I understand it, is like Night of the Seven Kingdoms. We were like, wow, this is really good.
Incredible. Isn't that show incredible?
Oh my God, man.
It makes you fall in love with the series. It makes you fall in love with the world instantly. So charming.
Dude, that tournament episode.
Oh,
like best 40 minutes of TV I think I've ever fucking seen. I'm like, this is so fucking good on so many levels. And I didn't even get all of it until and then they do like the after show where they talk about all the methodology they use.
It's great.
And I'm like, I didn't get half of this and I loved it. And now that I've heard the other half, I love it even more.
it's incredible. No, I mean it's heart-wrenching, emotional. Just when you think you can exhale a little bit, right? The king's son he's got the back of his head smashed in, and it's like, oh, now you're back down, and then you're back up, and then you're back down, and then are you going to take him on? Are you not going to take him on? Is he going to let you take him on? But I love it so much, and you know, Duncan Egg, that I think that was, if I'm not mistaken, that was like the first Westeros content that he ever wrote, I believe. So it's really cool because the show gets to expand upon it, because a lot of the lore from Game of Thrones hadn't actually happened yet in the first one, but now that it has, he can incorporate a lot of that stuff. So it's exciting, and I just wish he would finish Winds of Winter. But he's so tired of hearing that, I'm sure. And it's been 2011 since the last one came out, so I don't know. I feel like, just to put it out there, you know, if like your fans got you to the level where you were getting all the movie deals and show deals and all that stuff, like at least finish your story for those people, right? That kind of got you to that point, but that's neither here nor there. I didn't mean for this to go this long for 35 minutes. It's flying by.
When you go Hollywood, it's a very dangerous thing. It's very distracting, and it can take a lot of time with very little results. And you know, George R. R. Martin, like, he came from that scene already, so like he knew what Hollywood was like. So the fact that he's sort of come full circle after the books, and like, but I'm exactly like you. Like, I want him to go back to writing.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah.
I'm like, I want a different ending for Game of Thrones.
Please.
And I know you have it.
Please. Well, I see what I think happened was, like, he had this. I think they had condensed it to just like two. I think you know where I'm going with this. Like, they condensed it down to 2 seasons, but I think overarching, I think that's where they're going to end. There was no time to get there. And I think now he's like, oh shit, everybody hates this. I need to go back to the drawing board and change it up. I hope I'm wrong on that. I hope he's more creative than that, but we'll see. Time will tell.
Well, so I got the impression that because the show had gone past his writing, that literally in that last season they were just making up how all the events would resolve.
I hope that's what it is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the actual ending, like, I don't know if they even cared about his opinion on that stuff. They're like, let's make a spectacle. And
Yeah.
like they made a spectacle and it was a bad spectacle.
It was so bad.
It
Yeah.
was so disappointing after all that build up and all those years of watching. You're like, wow, this is going to end great because every fucking season's great. And then like
I
it
know.
last season, you're like, what happened?
You know what it's like, Chris? It's like when you're reading a book and then there's there's 4 books and it's supposed to be 6 books, and um he's promising winter's coming and it never happens. It's almost like if someone were to make a video game where like the true Sith are coming and
Well played, sir. Well played.
it's almost like,
the force runs strong in you guys.
I wonder where this. I keep liking content from people who don't finish.
I want to do a third one. It's like I really wanted to do a third one. Would have been great. It was all set up to do a third one. I'm like, oh man, I got like the enemies. Like I got Revan all figured out. Like I got the cast of characters and like the planets and the threats.
Now we're getting to the good stuff. Okay.
And then LucasArts like, no, we want to do internally KOTOR 3. And like then it didn't go anywhere. And so like we're like, well, we can't wait another year around for you to figure out what you want to do with that beyond the fact that because you're doing it, it means that we can't. So like, okay, that kind of sucked. But yeah, I definitely wanted to do a third one, and LucasArts had other plans.
Well, can I give you a guesstimate of what KOTOR 3? Because in my opinion, I think it actually works better as almost 4, possibly 5, depending upon how much content you can get into the 4th game. Can I give you an idea on what
Sure.
And you tell me how close or far away I am on this? I could be way off base. See, I'm under the belief that Mass Effect trilogy is almost like what BioWare really wanted to do, but they had Star Wars, and then they were excited to kind of retell KOTOR with this new idea. But I feel like that was like roughly the overarching feel, because there's a lot of similarities, and I don't know how wrong I'm going to be with this, but I'm going to guess. So KOTOR 2 ends, and we're going to go back to before this. Don't worry, guys. I'm not going to skip a lot of stuff here. I want to do this before we do that. So KOTOR 2 ends, and I'm assuming we're going light side here, just like KOTOR 1 and KOTOR 2 kind of assume that you're going light side and into KOTOR 2. Although you can do KOTOR 1, don't get me wrong, you can do it with the path. I just think there's a lot more content. Maybe let me start over, because I'm wrong on that. You can choose dark side, and there changes everything really with how the game plays out. But I feel like it's a more fuller experience if you do assume Revan went light side. That's just my opinion. So KOTOR 2 ends. Exile goes off to find Revan. The new Jedi that the Exile has now trained, they create their order. They're starting their order, this new order. Clan Ordo is bringing the Mandalorians to power, to be relevant again, but this time they're not murderous savages. And the Republic is healing under Carth Onassi's rule. Exile goes out to find Revan, finds Revan, who explains, hey, this is the situation. There's this overarching threat. This is the true Sith, and we need to find out a weakness, how to beat them, whatever it is, because they're this inevitable force. They're coming, and I know they're coming, and there's nothing we can do. We need to find out what we can. And I think the third game consists of basically similar to KOTOR 2. You go to these different planets, you build alliances, you're kind of undercover in a way, you're kind of being stealthy, not trying to reveal yourself, give yourself away. And I think at the end of the third game, I think Revan or the Exile, I think Revan fits better here, dies in a heroic battle where he gets killed by the true Sith, and the Exile barely slips back out to known space with all this new information or some kind of widget to destroy the true Sith or whatever that could be, to where now we're having this battle. Hey, they're coming, kind of like the Reapers, if you will, in all the alliances that you created, both in the unknown regions and in the new one, have this final battle and that's what the last KOTOR is like this battle versus the true Sith. Kind of similar to a Mass Effect 3 type. How far off am I? Am I just in a whole other planet here? I don't know if I explained myself very well.
No, you did explain yourself. So actually, you suggested a design element that we hadn't planned on, but would have been perfect for a fourth game, where it takes all the reactivity that takes place in the Old Republic and then allows that Old Republic reactivity and all the forces and alliances or enemies you made, that factors into the battle with the true Sith. That we didn't imagine.
Okay.
We wanted you to feel completely alone in the outer regions. The only people you could bring were T3 and HK-47. Yep. They would join you, but beyond that, like, you're looking for Revan. He hasn't left the best trail, so you're trying to find it. But once you do, like suddenly the nightmare scenario happens. You're like, oh, I thought I knew what a Sith was. No, it's so much worse.
I love it.
But you, Revan, are a very smart, tactical person. So when faced with overwhelming power, you find a way to outmaneuver it slowly. And over the course of that game, like, you're still tracking Revan, but then you're also seeing the consequences of what he's done in this true Sith Empire, and you can start putting the pieces together. And I don't want, in case it ever does happen, I don't want to like resolve.
It ain't happening, Chris. It ain't happening. We got Fate of the Old Republic coming out.
Let's say that Revan would form a super principal role in the third game, and also it would take into account all the reactivity you as Revan and you as the Exile went through in those two games, but not necessarily all the Old Republic attachments. So it was intended to respect both characters and all the choices they'd made that led up to that point. And I was really excited about it, but you got a lot of the elements correct. And even better, you elevated it with your idea. So you're on base plus.
Yeah, I think that would have been cool. I think it would have been awesome to see. I think you kind of messed me up when I was young, Chris. I'll tell you what. So when I was young, I played, I was like, 7, 6 when I played Knights of the Old Republic. And, what Casey Hudson and Drew Karpyshyn did, I know you're I look older than I am. But I was playing, I'm like, okay, this is like the grand hero, and I save it, or I go bad and I take over the galaxy, and it's so black and white and good, or help the guy or kick puppy. Like, that was kind of, it felt like the decisions in that game. And it's fantastic. KOTOR 1, for all those out there, I think it's like amazing, top 10 game of all time. I love it. It's incredible, and it did a lot of things that led the way for games to follow. Like, a lot of games even today have elements rooted back to that game, I believe. So KOTOR 2 came out, and I would have been that was like a year after that. I've been like 8 or 9.
That sounds about right. Because we started working
you didn't have a lot of time
before it got released.
You didn't have a lot of time, in that game, and we'll touch on that. I just given a backstory on it. I hated it. I was like 8 or 9. I'm like, everyone's dead. What's going on? Why did I save the galaxy? This is pointless. I hate this. This is so stupid. I'm like, I'm gonna go back and play KOTOR and save the galaxy again. But then I got older, and then I start watching, Goodfellas, where you're rooting for the bad guys. Then I start watching, all those different mafia movies, all those different dark movies, and my perceptive Quentin Tarantino was introduced into my life. I start watching these movies where, like, the bad guys are kind of who you're rooting for. Pulp Fiction, I watched that for the first time, and then I'm changed, and I get older, and my tastes differ, and then I come back to it like probably 12, 13 years old, and I play through it, and I'm like, oh my God. Star Wars is not what I thought it was. Like, you completely changed the way at that age on how I looked at Star Wars as an IP, and so many other people, by the way. You made it adult, I will say, because the prequels were coming out, right? And the prequels are very like kiddie, and Revenge of the Sith got a little bit dark at times, but for the most part, it was all about selling toys, and you had Jar Jar Binks and, you know, stuff like that going on. And this changed all of that. It was like, hey man, don't help that guy who's asking for help, because now he's going to go get his ass kicked and robbed around the corner. You've now just created a dependency thing. You know, it's like, oh, maybe I should think about what I'm doing before I do it. So I want to say appreciate you for that, and we'll touch more on that. But I want to ask you some questions. So KOTOR 1 came out. How big of a Star Wars fan were you? Were you not really at all? You were when you were a kid, but kind of phased out of it. Like, how big of a fan were you when you got into when KOTOR 1 came out, before you got approached or Obsidian got approached?
Not a fan. So first off, I'll answer this question, but you said so much stuff in the previous build-up that I think the viewers would find interesting.
I rambled. Yeah.
No, you didn't ramble. I'm like, oh wow, I should mention this. Like, so let me address the KOTOR 1 first. So, I had not watched Star Wars in a long time. I loved it when I was very young. I only liked Empire Strikes Back as I got older. I'm like, well, that was the only one that felt like it was like, I don't know, a little bit more plausible and better put together, and it felt like there was real drama. And anyway, so when I heard, oh wow, we're gonna do a Star Wars game, like I'm like, oh man, I left Interplay for this. And to me, I think some BioWare designers are also felt that way when they first heard they were doing Star Wars. However, then I went back and immersed myself in all the Star Wars stuff, and I remembered why I liked it when I was younger, and I focused a lot on Empire Strikes Back, and I'm like, I still like it. Like, I watched it again, and I'm like, this is hitting all the right notes, and I'm like, okay. But what really pushed it over the edge was I thought KOTOR 1 was, and you felt the same way too, I thought it was fantastic. I'm like, this has all the elements of Star Wars. It has a good story. I, as a character, am intimately involved in this story in really cool ways. And by the end, I'm like, wow, I felt like I was actually in a really exceptional Star Wars movie. And not only that, I can go play a bunch of variations of this movie, and I'm probably going to enjoy all of them. It's like, even the dark side choices can be interesting and amusing. And and I'm like, I mean, I went light side, obviously, but like, I thought it was an exceptional experience. So after all that, I'm like, oh, I remember what I like about Star Wars. And I remember what I have questions about Star Wars, because there's a lot of stuff I don't like about it. Like, oh, that was midichlorians, because we feel the need to over-explain the Force. And then,
oh, man.
And then just some of the dialogue choices and lore choices for
Chris, do you like sand? Do you like sand? You probably don't get that reference, do you?
Halloween has just been like so overused. Like, I feel like it's just a dumpster for all these ideas now. Like, I'm like, I liked it in the first trilogy, and then like it shows up again, and I'm like, I feel like Tatooine's become dirty somehow, and I can't really explain why.
But hey, the sequel trilogy, we have Jedha, which is totally different. It's just another. So anyway,
so there was that. Anyway, but to go back to your previous intro, some things your viewers might not be aware of are, first off, it's not that BioWare didn't want to do a KOTOR 2. Like, BioWare just didn't want to do a KOTOR 2 the way LucasArts was telling them to do it. Because LucasArts was like, well, the first game took a long time, BioWare. Sure, it's exceptional, but the next one better be like 2 years or less.
Man.
And and BioWare was like, no, like, we don't have to. No,
good for them. Good for them. Yeah.
So then they're like, but we know the Black Isle Studio guys who formed their own studio, Obsidian, like, they're used to using our engines and making content for our games. And they just can't make engines. So they're like, why doesn't Obsidian do a KOTOR 2? And that's how it all happened. Like, they gave us the tool set and said, good luck, chumps. So, but we got an opportunity to work on Star Wars. I really enjoyed that project. It was a lot of late nights and long hours, very small team, but and I wish we had more time, but then again, I wish we'd cut more stuff. So I did enjoy working on it. It just took about a month and a half before I really got revved up to, like, I think I'm in love with Star Wars.
Get into the idea. No, totally. I would say, even going back to the, like, original trilogy, like, A New Hope, you could say that was like, I guess why I like A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, like you said, was like they seem to be great stories that didn't cater to just like small children. And then, man, Return of the Jedi, like even as a kid, I'm like, why are these teddy bears taking down the Emperor's own like elite force of stormtroopers? Even then, I was like, come on. So I think maybe that's why I like him a lot too. And I think that's why I resonate a lot with KOTOR 2 was like, man, like how do you even come up with that idea? How do you say, hey, we're gonna just change the galaxy? I know we just came off these two potential endings. Like, how do you even get to the Jedi are all dead and the Sith are a cancer in the galaxy hunting them down? How do you even get there? Like, how you sit around the table and shoot the shit? Like, how does that happen?
Well, you just watch a lot of Babylon 5.
I was going to ask about that.
In all seriousness, like I know that's a flippant answer, but when Straczynski worked on Babylon 5, there were certain steps that he took to build up the Menace of the Shadows. And in my opinion, the methods that he used were ones that were really intriguing and cool because like they didn't come for you full force. What they did is they crept up on you because they knew a battle with you like was going to potentially not end well because it already failed once. And like KOTOR was having the same situation where it's like, okay, the Sith, like they don't have their MacGuffin anymore, the cranks, they don't have their Starforge. Yeah. So like what tactics do they have? Well, they could be sneaky assassin guys and then like crawl in the underbelly of the Republic and wipe out their enemies one by one. And that felt like a very Sithy thing to do. And also that was inspired by Sidious because, you know, apparently Sidious could cloak himself very effectively for some of those powerful Jedi Masters. So that must be some sort of technique. Why don't we embrace that as well and say, yeah, there are teachings devoted to that. And the Jedi would be hard pressed to stop like hundreds upon hundreds of like, you know, these particular Force users coming after them. And what's worse is they don't even know the origin point. So they're like, we don't even know where they're coming from to strike back. So we're gonna have to be in the situation where we go to hide to try and lure them out, and then we'll strike. So for me, it felt like it's a much more interesting to play a game of chess versus like smashing two like toy figures together. Like, oh, like I'm the Republic, I'm the Sith. Like that's the first game, which still did it well. But then I'm like, well, I'd like to add a little bit more complexity in terms of like how they're approaching their conflict in the second one. And I really liked how Babylon 5 did it, so I embraced them.
Okay, I need to watch Babylon 5 because I saw that somewhere else I saw you mention them. I don't remember where it was, but you had mentioned them as a huge inspiration for it. I looked it up and it reminded me of just the pictures of it. Stargate. I remember my family used to watch a lot of Stargate, which then reminded me of Mass Effect and how the relays work. And I'm like, oh, you see a lot of inspiration in these old sci-fi shows, don't you?
So, if you watch Babylon 5, I have to warn you, the first season is really rough. Okay, and then when you get to the third season, that's when you're just going to start seeing a lot of the stuff I'm talking about. But it takes a while to get there. And in my opinion, don't watch the fifth season.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. If Chris Avellone is recommending something to me, I do what Chris Avellone says. So I will definitely check it out. Absolutely. So, no, so. You know, I went to Rome recently, and not to, I don't want to take this. I don't think I'm doing this heavy-handed because it's going to sound heavy-handed, but I think there's similarities to it. And so I'm in Rome, and like it's really cool because like you're in these places, like, oh yeah, that's where Julius Caesar died. Oh yeah, this is where this is where the Colosseum is. And they used to have these people here. Oh, this is St. Mark's Basilica. This is where all Napoleon used to have parties here. And you're like, oh my god, this is so cool. But then there's that really heavy, Christian Catholic influence on Rome, of course, right? You see these big cathedrals like everywhere, and really coming back from it as a spiritual person, I'm spiritual, and it was really cool and breathtaking. And I did a replay of KOTOR 2 in preparation for this, and I was playing KOTOR 2, and I'm like, there's a lot of I think this happens a lot where like you could draw similarities to anything, like any kind of story from anywhere, because all stories derive from somewhere. But like the exile, let's just talk about the exile, comes out of nowhere, seemingly has no idea what's going on, right? Develops the connection to the Force again, which was actively hurting him or her, whoever you are, because it's this scar, this pain, this wound. They are this wound. They carry this burden on them. And the galaxy almost has cancer, is the best way I can explain it. Like the light side, the Jedi, they're all corrupt. Atris is suffering in her own jealousy and regret. All the other Jedi Masters, roughly the same thing in their own different way, kind of handling it in their own different way. How they failed, can't face the fact that he was wrong, and all the dogmatic stuff he thought was happening or it was the truth is not the truth, and he can't handle it, right? But you have this person coming back after all of this war that they escaped their own, the mass shadow generator. They have all this pain, but they're still healing the galaxy. They're touching everything they touch. They're healing. They're bringing back. And this is assuming light side, of course, because it's very, very opposite if you go dark side. But they're healing everyone. You can say, hey, Kreia, I understand what you're saying, but I don't care. This is who I am. If I can help people, I will help people. All these different planets are ravaged by war. They have scars of the past. This character was shunned by this same Jedi Order. Think of, Jesus with the Sanhedrin before, judged wrongfully in the past because they were afraid of it. Like, I found a lot of, and again, I'm not saying that this was the inspiration, but I did find it interesting is like, there's a lot of like Christ-like attributes to a light side exile. Have you ever thought about that? Or is that just like kind of constant, just completely coincidence, which I'm sure it probably is.
It wasn't intentional. I will say there's one head you can choose for your character model that looks a lot like Jesus. And we would often
That's
call
the one I did.
and I think that helps actually drive home the idea. But no, a lot of the decisions were mostly drawn from some experiences in the real world where it's kind of a world of make-believe, where if you have a war, and then afterwards, everything's great. Like there's fireworks in the sky, everyone's getting along great. Well, did the war that's not how wars are in the real world. Like nope. That's not what Ukraine's going to be like after this horrible situation. Like it leaves scars, and it leaves scars on the people, it leaves scars on the land. It was technically a religious war between these two groups, and the common people barely understand like these higher level like force users and what they're all about, but they just get thrown into the shredder of this war machine. Mm-hmm. And for me, it felt more plausible, and it made the game more grounded if you suddenly saw, well, winning the war isn't everything. Like if you destroy your infrastructure to do it, have you won? Like, no. Mm-hmm. And then the Republic has always had a theme that goes all the way up to the modern Star Wars movies where honestly, it doesn't govern itself very well. So it just seemed to me the most plausible explanation would be, okay, the Republic got hit by a devastating war, probably drove them into debt, destroyed countless planets, trade routes. They're going to have a freaking hard time rebuilding because of the Republic. Like it's bad enough, just as a baseline, but then the Republic can't get their shit together to properly address any of these issues, just like in the modern movies. That's one thing I liked about George Lucas's plot line in the movies was he admitted that the Republic wasn't all great. Yep. Like they represented some really good ideals, but they couldn't follow through on some of that stuff because they were so mired in their own bureaucracy. And you could argue, well, maybe that was just Sidious doing it, but that's not how it felt.
No,
to me.
It's not. Yeah, it was
just too much bureaucracy that was getting in the way, and it was hurting them. And I wanted that to come across in KOTOR 2 too, where it's like the Republic still has some very serious problems internally that aren't about war and conflict. It's about governance. It's about taking care of their people. It's about infrastructure, and focusing on those issues for KOTOR 2, I thought would make it just, I guess, feel more gritty. I mean, that it just felt more real to me.
Yeah, there's so many things I want to hit on there. One, I don't think it was Sidious. Sure, he used it to his advantage. I would say he kind of hid in the shadow that was created by the how would you say the they The Jedi Council sure loved the smell of their own farts, didn't they? They absolutely sure did. They just loved it.
Interesting tidbit, just really quick.
Yeah.
Our producer at LucasArts said for the prequel movies, it's like, did you notice how many Jedi Council meetings scenes there are? I'm like, yeah, there were quite a few. He goes, I think that's because George's life was being in meetings like that. No, he was being absolutely serious. I could see it. I'm like,
oh yeah.
Yes, if your life is nothing but round table meetings at LucasArts, it must feel like the Jedi Council every day. And I am not surprised that tone made it into the movies. Anyway, Carter, go on.
Well, no, it's a big echo chamber though. That's such a great point though. Like when you're in there, it's an echo chamber. And let me just, I don't know, be critical of George here for a minute too, because a lot of people like to talk about George and kind of give him a pass on a lot of this stuff. But, he's the one who ultimately decided to sell the franchise. I understand that the fans were terrible to him, but still he handed the keys over to this massive corporation that only cares about making money. But what I will say is, the prequel trilogies, as I got older in my age group, and I'm going to touch on, this is actually true for everything else, but like my age group and younger, they love the prequels because they grew up with them. That's their kind of definition in their mind of Star Wars, and if you will. And I'll say this with Fallout 2, just briefly, that is the problem that we're facing now. And I'm going to say problem, and I mean it, but people, their definition of Fallout is not the same definition as yours or mine, because they came up with the newer ones, and that in their mind is Fallout. And that's just like the kids nowadays, where they're actually old, they're actually younger than the prequels. Their definition of Star Wars is now the animated TV show, right? But I was going with that where he was in an echo chamber. He was in these meetings. He was, no one would say no to George Lucas. And why would you? It's George Lucas. I understand what you're we were getting at. But anyway, that's just a rant, man. Like I hate when people say, George is right. He's great. He's never did any wrong. It's like, I don't know.
So. I know. I mean, I saw the behind the scenes footage. Where he's talking, he's very aware of certain mistakes that he's done in the past, and he's actually very humble and cognizant of them, which made my respect for him go even higher.
That's good.
He didn't seem to be like he himself trapped in a bubble. Like he was very reflective on the errors he'd made with previous movies, and not just Star Wars. Because he'd done other stuff. So that was good. There was one other point about what you said. What you said about selling Star Wars to a big corporation. I don't think LucasArts' sole goal was to make money. I think it had a similar problem to what we were discussing with The Witcher and other franchises, where suddenly the franchise goes to somebody else who thinks they know better. And they're like, here's the stories that should be told in Star Wars, without really respecting what Star Wars is all about. And so there are some that absolutely hit the mark where you're like, okay, they nail it. And then there's other ones where you're like, wow, what is this? This is Star Wars in name only, and that's not good. And I think that's actually, that's a prime example of writers and creators not actually embracing the franchise they're creating for. They just feel like they're going to do something else. They're going to put their spin on it that no one asked for, is not appropriate for the franchise, and then it just goes off the deep end. Not always, but sometimes.
Right. Well, I think it's just that it's got to be tough, because you actually are a very good example of someone to talk to about this. But it's got to really be tough when, I understand you didn't create the IP, but you were very foundational to the IP. The freaking Fallout Bible. It's got to be tough to create an IP and create so much of it, and then see it become so big, and that's exciting. That's great. And then it's like, oh no, it's become the same. It's like, oh no, it almost kind of takes, I'm not saying just for you, but I'm saying I create Star Wars. Now all of a sudden I'm seeing guys with helicopter lightsabers flying off, it's like, what am I watching? You know what I mean? So
are you talking about the Inquisitors?
Yeah. I don't know.
I could not believe that scene in the Clone Wars. I'm like, what did they just do?
I know. I quit caring, man, after a while. Unfortunately, I just kind of stick to what I like nowadays. Unfortunately, I would say the only people There's a few people that really know Star Wars genuinely. I think you're on that list. I think Drew Karpyshyn's on that list. I think Timothy Zahn's on that list. Um, Tony Gilroy, I don't know if he's just a freaking great writer or like a mastermind. If he knows Star Wars, if he just, it just kind of felt like he just wrote a great story that happened to be in the Star Wars universe with Andor. To be honest with you, you didn't really need to care about Star Wars at all to enjoy that. But he's great too. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked here.
No. Actually, Carter. So to go back to the Fallout stuff just really quick, you're absolutely right. In terms of like when people are exposed to Fallout or whatever the franchise is, that's the moment where like they see that's the franchise to them at that moment where they're like,
Exactly.
okay, I saw the new movies. The new movies are Star Wars to me, and for me, the older movies are more Star Wars to me.
Yep.
However, I did want to clarify something with the Fallout TV show and like the more recent Fallout games. I don't hate the new Fallout games at all.
Mhm.
And I certainly don't hate anyone who enjoys the Fallout TV show because here's the thing. If you watch the Fallout TV show and you genuinely enjoy it and you genuinely have a good time, I don't have any issue with that. However, if someone asked me my opinion of it, which they did, I will give it. It's just, and actually my issue with it isn't necessarily, the entire thing. It's I just wish it was crafted better because I honestly, for me, and maybe it's just I have the writer bias. I just don't think it's very well written. I think the actors are good. I think they're not given the world's best scripts or the best stages to play those scripts out on. But I mean, there's good stuff there. It's just that it doesn't particularly appeal to me. That doesn't mean that people shouldn't love it and enjoy it, and nor would I ever want people to not enjoy something like that because of my critiques. Like me and Tim Kaine would talk about Fallout, and he goes, "Well, Chris, actually, I agree with everything you're saying." He goes, "But I still enjoy the show." I'm like, "Well, that's great. Like that, we don't. I'm not here to convince you that you're not enjoying the show because
just give your take on it. Yeah,
yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
It's absolutely fine to enjoy it that way.
Yeah, it's hard to, well, see, you're somebody of significance. I'm just a guy that talks shit online, so I don't really have the same. It doesn't matter what I think. You know what I mean? So it's funny.
Carter, don't talk about yourself like that.
Well, no. What I mean by that is like you have like relationships in the industry. I don't. So I have so much freedom to just to kind of. My point is, if you go back and watch my stuff, you'd be like, oh man, you have an opinion. You're opinionated. You know what I mean? Like that's what you would think. Because I think it is important to. I don't know. There's two ways you can go with it. I think one, you can just not care. Hey, people can just enjoy franchises and let it go wherever it goes. New fans, it'll spawn new generations of fans that they love it just in a different way than you, and that's probably the healthy way of doing it. The healthy way is just letting people enjoy things. That's probably the healthy thing. Or you can, and this is what I do. I do this with every IP that I love. And hey, I'm about to be 30 years old, and I should probably get over it. But I feel this way with Game of Thrones, with House of the Dragon. They're taking something that is just a tiny story relatively in Fire and Blood and making it this huge thing, kind of like they did with The Hobbit, where they made The Hobbit 3 movies that were 3 hours long. It was like, what are we doing here? And then, my point is like, I think we should hold franchises to a very high standard so that they don't suffer in quality, because they're such big IPs where they're going to spawn new fans, and the casual viewer are going to like them regardless. They're just going to like them because it's fun, exciting, and cool. And Fallout Season 1 was good, I thought, overall. I thought Season 2 suffered in writing, but still, I thought the sets were cool. I thought the Vegas stories were awesome. How could you not love Walton Goggins? He's just freaking awesome in everything he does. We should even talk about Invincible. Anyway, we'll skip that one. We'll skip that one. But my point is exactly that. I think there needs to be some level of criticism, and I don't mean gatekeeping to fans, even though it's a natural thing to fall into when you're critical of stuff. It's just natural. Like, oh, you like that? Well, then you're stupid. Like those kind of conversations. But I think it is important. I think things need to be criticized to keep a level of quality that should be expected and that has been shown in respect to people who have done it before you. I hope I'm not
Yeah.
long-winded there, you know?
No, no, I think you're right, and also, like, some of your critiques could actually have nothing to do with the franchise, but are still very important to consider. Like, one of the big issues I have with the Fallout TV show is the cinematography. I think the camera work is not very good, and I'm like, it's not giving me the right angle on this emotional arc between these characters, and sometimes, like, they completely drop the ball, and
Yeah.
then, like, and then there's, like, writing mistakes, and which for a game, like I've certainly done this before too, but like when they keep repeating the same joke over and over again within
Yeah.
an episode, you're like, that's not a good, like, that's never a good thing to do. And then,
Yeah.
um, God, there's other one, cinematography, the scripts,
I
other
feel like every
aspects.
time you laugh, you remember something and you're like, I'll skip past that.
Anyway, yeah, but I mean, my point is, like,
Uh,
you're not really attacking the franchise when you're bringing up stuff like
yeah.
that. You're like, the script writing needs to be better. The plot needs
Yeah.
to be better. The actors are
Yeah.
great. You would give them better lines and, do better cinematography. It doesn't mean I hate Fallout. It's just that these are areas where you could improve.
Okay. Yeah. Like I don't want to stick on this because there's things I want to ask you and talk about. I do have to, I'm going to say my last bit and I'm going to let you say your last bit on it because I know that we both want to talk about it a bit, but I got to get to these other things. Trust me, I could take your entire day. Trust me.
No, it's fine.
But, okay. So there's a few things, right? There's the dinosaur looking the wrong way. I mean, how do you, I know it's a stupid little thing, but like, come on, like we're in New Vegas, we played it and just, can you get a little like thing right? Like it's not much. Just make it turning the right way. I know you want to use it in the scene, but it's a little thing, okay? The NCR seemingly being defeated, and all of a sudden they spawn like 40,000 soldiers
Yeah,
at the end. Death claws I thought were supposed to be scary and dangerous. Which, Chris, why did you have to make them talk in Fallout 2? Because now I'm getting all I get it from people is like, well, they talked in Fallout 2. You don't know Fallout. Death claws aren't that dangerous. It's like death claws are supposed to be like the apex predator. Chris, why do you have them talking? They're using my weapon against me.
It was definitely not my call.
Like,
Yeah, it's really weird because like a lead designer asked for it. Like, no, I'm sorry, the lead designer approved it initially, and then once the game came out 2 years later, he's like, I wish I hadn't approved that.
well, that was one thing. It's like it seemed like we're just. I mean, he is literally just bitching death claws. Like he was like, boom, that's one down. Boom, that's one down. Shooting a rocket. Boom, that's one down. It's like, you know how hard death claws are supposed to be unless you're like max level character. And then that's the other thing too is like all. And I know I'm going to get a little bit ranty, but these are like things that I feel like I have my outlet here. I feel like there's a lot of bad situations that characters find themselves in or stupid things, and the natural response is well, it's Fallout, it's supposed to be goofy, and it just it just boils my blood.
It's a lazy decision.
It boils my blood when fans say, yeah, well, of course it's Fallout, it's goofy. It's like, this isn't Borderlands, this is Fallout. Anyway, and then the other thing too is I mean, I got so upset over that just a second. Oh yeah, is applying video game logic to TV shows. Well, he must have had 10 perception. It's like, oh man, like really? Oh, he had 10 luck. That's why Rad Roach has just killed everybody into a room and locked it, and then he and his girlfriend are the only two to survive. He had 10 luck. It's like, dude, come on. You know what I mean? Like, don't. Anyway, that's my piece. There's a lot more, but I don't want to take up too much time.
No. So first off, Carter, when you start applying game mechanics to TV shows, like they did with Fallout, like they listed all the character stats out for the characters, and actually that created more confusion for me because I was trying to figure out in season one. The ghoul was taking that drug that had no name. Anyway, I know that goes. But anyway, my point was I couldn't figure out why he was doing it because like it didn't make any sense. And I'm like, but then I saw his character sheet and I wish I hadn't. Oh god! Like it's gonna have like chem dependent, chem reliant. I'm like, maybe that's why he's doing it. See, it just causes more confusion and it's not appropriate because they're two different media. You're like. It's great that you're taking into consideration, but be aware that you're doing like a TV show. You don't have to like get statted up.
Yeah,
I think it just ends up being problematic in the way that you're saying. Another issue that I have, these are really small things, but I think it's important. So that second episode of season 2 really bothered me because it represented one trend that I was already seeing in Star Trek New Worlds, and that's why I stopped watching it, which is Hollywood was feeding on itself in the sense that, like, because in Strange New Worlds, they encounter the Gorn. Cool, all right, awesome. But the Gorn just look like aliens, like the actual like the movie Aliens. You're like, well, that didn't require much creativity. In fact, they even have the same angle of shots of how the Gorn are threatening humans that look just like how the aliens were threatening Ripley.
Oh,
You're like,
really? Yeah.
well, you're kind of cannibalizing yourself. Okay. But then the Fallout TV show did it, where it's like you count those rad scorpions in the hospital and they act just like aliens. And I'm like, oh, come on. Like, okay. And that was one thing that bothered me. Because, like, when you start feeding on your own, when Hollywood, like, literally starts feeding on itself for its own ideas, it's hit a dark spot. The other thing that bothered me was there were such oblivious decisions to things that were very important to get right. Like in that entire hospital scene, Lucy is given this dramatic choice between saving the Caesar's Legion slave or the ghoul. But as you and I know, it's not really a choice because she knows the ghoul isn't going to die. So really, what is the moral dilemma? Guess what? There isn't one. So why did you try and hype it? Like, it was just ridiculous. And I'm like, you guys need to get your shit together. Because I like this franchise and I want you to do better.
Yeah, and you know what, like, through all the stuff, and I gave them kind of the benefit of the doubt, and I actually, you know what, I enjoyed Fallout for what it was going to be, season 1, because it was, I don't know, I didn't grow up on Fallout 1 and 2, and I shouldn't say Fallout 1. Tim Kaine would kill me. I didn't grow up on Fallout and Fallout 2. I played them much later. Much later. I'm surprised you can still play it on Steam actually now on a brand new computer. Like, you can't play KOTOR 1 without installing a bunch of mods, and you can't. It gives you so many problems now. But you can play Fallout 1 and 2. But I played Fallout 3 and New Vegas. Those are my first 2 Fallout games, and to me, Fallout was interesting and quite frankly fascinating to me because you have a world that leads to what a lot of people presume is its inevitable end, a resource war that falls into nuclear war. And I thought that premise was so incredible. And I didn't need to know all the facts. I thought Operation Anchorage was cool. I get a chance to kind of go back and play it. But, like, China and the US had a big world war and blew the world up. That was what I just thought. I didn't really care. I didn't really want to see pre-war. Sure, it was cool in some things when you get to do it, but I liked kind of the mystery of it, and I enjoyed being in an aftermath of a nuclear, apocalypse. I thought that was just the fascinating part. So I didn't mind a lot of the stuff that, like, Fallout 1 and 2 fans had problems with, like, super mutants being back. I didn't realize that was a thing until I played Fallout. I'm like, wait a minute. They were supposed to be dead then. I didn't realize that playing as a kid, right? I didn't, when the first season came out, people were like, oh, Shady Sands was nuked. I'm like, the hell is Shady Sands? And then, of course, I found out after, and that's what prompted me to go play them. But it just seems to me like season 2, when they went to Vegas, it hit me in the way where it hit other people who were complaining about the Fallout 1 and 2 stuff in the first season. I then felt that. Because it's like, because now they're messing with stuff that I know and that I love.
They're messing with your memories. They're messing with your experience.
Exactly. And Mr. House, to me, is one of the most incredibly written characters ever. I think Mr. House, this guy who is probably a madman, wants to save Vegas, wants to see humanity extend to the stars. But he's complex. He's not this completely evil person, but he's no angel. He's a complex character, and that's what makes him so great. To see him, making a guy beat the hell out of another guy with a bat in the back of an alley, it was like, dude, what are we doing?
It just felt like there was no subtlety. It was all very heavy-handed, and many kudos to Mr. House's writer and the lead writer on New Vegas, John Gonzalez. Like he did an amazing job on Mr. House. Like,
have you talked to John about this?
About the show?
Yeah.
No. The last time I spoke to John was when we were both at Gorilla for a while, and then John was on not happy there. So I think
okay, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's okay. So we haven't spoken about the reason I paused is because I thought I heard some mention that John had brought up in an interview that it would be nice to be credited for creating a character. And like, my friend Brian Menzie, who does love the concept art for Fallout, like he'd love to get some credit too for all the stuff that shows up in this show that he's never given any acknowledgement for. So like he does these Instagram posts and Facebook where he breaks down all the stuff that he's contributed to these episodes that no one would know otherwise. And it's a huge amount of stuff. Like he's got an incredible backlog. So anyway, that's why I paused. I think John had raised some questions about, hey, so is there a chance like, you might give a nod to the creators about, some of this stuff?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's why I paused.
Do a special. Do a special like do like Night of the Seven Kingdoms does, bring the OG guy, bring yourself on, bring John on, bring all these guys on, talk about, hey, what, like it's such an opportunity. It would have done numbers too, so. Yeah,
actually they did the reverse. Actually what happened was Bethesda told 5 or 6 key people at Obsidian, and I believe John was among them, that they were, I'm not sure of the exact wording, but basically don't talk about Fallout while the season 2 premiere is happening, and you just stay quiet. So like
why would they do that?
I am not sure, but that does not speak to me as someone who's very secure in their product if they have to act like that. But anyway, 5 or 6 people, I'm sure you can guess who those people are, but they were told, Bethesda, also you're part of Microsoft now, so you do what we say. So it's kind of sad that, even if certain creators would want to give an opinion on something, they actually can't for professional reasons. Because like you can't speak out against Microsoft. You can't speak out about your partner Bethesda because you're all under the same umbrella.
Yeah.
Me, I'm not a Microsoft employee. I don't fucking give a shit. Like I'm going to give my opinion because like someone like some critique, like it's like you were saying, some critiques have to get to their destination, otherwise it's going to be the same slog and it can be fixed so easily with just knowing like your script writing techniques and cinematography and all that crazy stuff that Hollywood's supposed to be known for. But basically Bethesda said, you guys need to be fucking quiet.
Yeah,
2 hits.
That's insane.
That's why not a lot was said.
This should be a celebration of Fallout. This should be a celebration of Fallout and everything that you guys have done. And when you're over at Interplay, it should be an absolute celebration of where it started. Just a couple of guys talking shit, man, making some kind of potential alien apocalypse. Oh, maybe we should do a nuclear bomb thing. Oh, maybe we should put it in this retro 50s setting, to where it is now. And so many people are just raking in money, hand over fist. And all they did was, sign a paper on something over stuff that you guys have created. That to me, the way they're treating you guys, I mean, that's awful. Can you imagine, saying, hey, well, I say this, but they probably did say, Disney says to George Lucas, don't talk about Star Wars. No, they probably actually did do that. Don't say anything.
They just definitely didn't want any potential counter narratives of what it felt like. And I'm like, wow, I would not react well to being silenced on, and like it's weird, like Tim and Josh and John are all like they've got opinions.
Yeah.
So and it's actually kind of sad when you can't hear them because your company says, well, you can't voice it. You can't voice your opinion on X, Y, and Z, and it just strikes me as like that feels like corporate insecurity. And it also does a disservice to the community because I think people would really want to hear what those people have to say.
100%.
One really quick thing. Tim Kaine, I know you said Tim Kaine would probably hit me. Tim Kaine would not hit you. Tim Kaine is not a violent person. Yeah. He's very, very nice.
Very nice guy.
He would simply give you a puzzled expression if he had a question, something you've done. He would just give you a questionable look. He
does that in all of his videos. He'll like when he remembers a situation, he'll do exactly that to the camera. And I love that you did it because that's exactly what he does.
Yeah, I love Tim. Sounds great.
Oh, he seems like an absolute sweetheart, right? I mean, how could you not love someone that that's like that? And he probably is like that with everybody. And those people attract people naturally, and feel comfortable around those type of people naturally, right? So no, that's awesome. Didn't I really didn't mean to even talk about Fallout, but you know, it's fresh on the brain, and yeah, I feel like I'm a good representation of how a lot of fans feel. And I don't mean like all of them or the majority. I just mean a big number. I feel like if you look online, you'll see a lot of people like myself saying similar things. And I'm not as hardcore on it. Like I enjoyed Fallout 4 for what it was. I'm not one of those guys that bashes on Fallout 4. Is it like the best thing ever? No. But I enjoyed being in Boston in a post-apocalyptic world. Like I got it. Did I enjoy Fallout 76? No, it was a piece of shit. But we'll talk about something else entirely, okay? Fallout 76, man, brutal. I actually tried to jump on there when they got Walton Goggins on there. I made it probably 30 minutes, and I'm like, yeah, I remember why I turned this off instantly last time. But anyway.
Yeah, that team was in a really bad situation. Like it was either do that or like I wouldn't be surprised if they had a project to jump onto. Like I don't know what would have happened to that studio, but
16 times the detail there, Chris. 16 times the detail. But anyway, no, I'm so sorry.
I see what you did there.
I'm so sorry. No, but I can't help myself. Fun fact: Elder Scrolls 6, the announcement trailer for Elder Scrolls 6. It's been longer since that came out in today than when Skyrim came out and the Elder Scrolls 6 trailer dropped. Interesting fact for those out there who might be interested in that development progress. Anyway,
didn't Bethesda actually admit finally that we just announced it too early? Like we just did.
Yep.
Like I appreciate that honesty. Like we all make mistakes. We're never exactly sure the pipelines, but like. Yep. It's good that you said something versus just pretending like it's all okay. When every other developer is saying like, "Oh yeah, there's not going to be an Elder Scrolls for quite a while."
I think they said that like within the last couple of days, they actually said it's like not going to be out until like shoot. I think it might have been. I don't remember who it was. I think it was Mr. Matty Plays who did a video on. I don't remember. But I saw your podcast with him a long time ago, actually. Anyway, you do so many podcasts, you don't remember who you talked to.
No, it's really weird because Mr. Matty was asking if I ever wanted to do an interview with him because we were just chatting about other stuff.
Yeah.
He might be interested in doing games. Interesting.
Yeah.
So we were talking about that stuff, and then he did invite me to the show, but I didn't think he would have invited me if he'd interviewed me before. I actually didn't remember talking to him before, but I guess I did.
It was like a long time ago, like 10 years ago, like before Fallout 4, I want to say, or just after, I don't remember. Anyway, so yeah, no, thanks for, talking about this. I didn't expect that you'd want to talk about it, but appreciate it. Yeah.
Carter, I'm over 50. I don't answer to any big corporations. I don't give a shit.
Okay, well, on that, since you said that, no, I'm kidding. All right, yeah,
go for it. I don't care.
Well, I mean, I think, everyone kind of knows how a lot of people feel. It gave me butterflies every time you put a post up or a blog post up or tweeted about it, and you were kind of saying the same things that I was thinking, because someone's got to be that voice. And today, when so many people are like, yes, man, and like, when you're in an industry like that, you kind of got to keep relationships, and some people are kind of fake and you can see it. And sometimes they're not too good at hiding it. When you look at, we talked about Game of Thrones, but some of the cast members, when they were asked about what they were thinking about the last season, you're like, you can see it on their face. Or Mark Hamill, when he was doing Last Jedi, when it's like, who's this guy? This isn't Obi-Wan.
They did his character such a disservice. I'm like, way to ruin everything that was about Luke Skywalker in one scene.
Oh my God.
I was totally with Hamill in that moment. Like, I'm like, you are right. Like that is complete disrespect for a franchise's origins to shit all over Skywalker like that. I'm like, come on, man. Like the guy went through 3 movies going through all this shit to be a hero. And at the end, he's throwing down his lightsaber. He's not like, come on. He's not going to kill some kid over some possibility. That's not Luke Skywalker. Like, anyway.
That's not Luke. You talk about that. Han Solo reverts to being a deadbeat dad. Princess Leia is back to leading the rebellion. Luke Skywalker just is hiding, drinking blue milk. Totally gave up on everything. I was so who like greenlit these ideas? Like, who said this is okay? You know what I mean? Anyway,
here's my thing that I'm struggling with is sorry, that director has done amazing movies.
Yes, Knives Out. Oh my God,
Jedi wasn't one of those. So that's when I pause and I'm like, I wonder if there was anything else going on with that, whether it was corporate decisions or you have to do this, or like you have to put this planet in there. Like, I have no idea what was being pushed that may have hurt that movie, but he's done so much other stuff that's fucking fantastic. Where I'm like, this feels like an anomaly.
Different. I even think of like Benicio del Toro's character, how they squandered him, but
oh my God.
Yeah. The memories are popping up.
You have him. Why are you wasting him?
I know.
So much waste.
But you ever watch Sicario?
No, but it's on the list.
Oh man, Sicario, Benicio del Toro, Josh Brolin, fantastic stuff there. No, okay, so yeah, I could do Star Wars for another, forever, talking about those movies and what they've done. But that one's been beat to death. The other one's fresh still. So, okay, so KOTOR 2, to get back into that mode, you're coming up with this idea, which I love, that you're like, hey, you know what? The prequels are introducing this idea where they're over-explaining the Force. Brandon Sanderson talks about this too. Like, what kind are we going to have, a hard magic system or a soft magic system, right? Tolkien, soft magic system. Gandalf has this power, it's this mystic energy, and up until like 1999 or whenever that movie came out, Star Wars was a soft magic system. It was mystical and this thing that you couldn't quite explain too well, but Yoda probably does it best in Empire. But then you make it a hard magic system, and now in a new show, anyone can be a Jedi, which I freaking hate.
Wow. Not know that happened.
Yeah, like Sabine or something, this Mandalorian lady. Like, I guess anyone can. They just have to practice more than others, but that's another thing. Yeah, I know. Every time I sometimes I just peek my head in to see what's going on. I'm like, oh, Mando and Grogu will pop back out. But how do you, like, what does that come from? You come up with the idea that, hey, maybe everyone is kind of predetermined, or are they? That's an interesting concept to explore.
And so I mean, the whole concept of that there's a destiny to the Force, there's a predestination elements involved with the Force, like it's working towards a certain resolution consciously. Mm-hmm. I mean, it doesn't have to be like a super detailed, well thought out consciousness. Like, hey, it's seeking balance, so obviously it has some sort of agenda. But then again, like everything's already plotted out according to the Force. Like it's got everything out. So you're like, well, it doesn't really give you much room to move, like as a character. It's okay, because if you're basically just following rails that this otherworldly force is putting you through, you're not really technically making any great character decisions. And this might just be because I love working on RPG games, and any sort of franchise that prevents you from role playing because of predestination, that bothers me a lot. So like, I think that's one of my big issues with the Force. But what you were saying about about the hard magic system, or like the hard Force system.
Yep.
The problem there is a very junior mistake, in my opinion, where it's like you feel the need, like, oh, well, if I don't explain everything, the audience won't get it. Never, ever go. And as a writer, never, ever. Like, some things need to be mysterious. Some things need to be unexplained. Sometimes you need to leave question marks in the lore and in the writing, because that creates some elements of uncertainty that you're looking for. And Yoda's speech about the Force was all that ever needed to be said, in my opinion.
Yep.
Like, he describes it and leaves it alone. But then once it becomes bacteria, like, Anybody could have said, you know, I don't think that it being bacteria makes the Force look very good. Like, like, like it's for me.
I
It's
caught the
simple.
Force.
I caught the Force, exactly.
Yeah.
Did you get your Force shot? Like, did you get your
Yeah, exactly.
um, so I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes it's just really junior stuff that I think that some people just get blind to. Like they're like, well, I feel like it needs to be explained when it doesn't. It never does. And
It's like
actually, that's
Compound
what
V. It's like
yeah,
Compound V, like eliminating the idea that these are natural born heroes. No, they're just it totally eliminates it, and that's the point in that show. But then it accidentally does that with Star Wars, right? It's like, oh, he has as much midichlorians as Yoda. Okay, so the power scale exists already. Like there, you could just take a blood test, and then now you kind of know who's top dog. And the like, I don't know.
yeah. And actually, Tim Kaine had a philosophy about this. He was, and I think this is actually where I got it from. He, when working on Fallout 1, he was like, you know, I think it's important to leave wiggle room in the lore. Like, we don't have to explain every single thing about how FEV works,
Yep.
you know, exactly what radiation did. Like, even despite the amount of arguments it's going to cause for the next two decades, you don't need to address it in the game because it's not important. Like, that's not the important part of what's going on. And also, like, over detailing that stuff actually puts you in danger of writing yourself into a lore corner where you're like, well, if we already spec'd out that FEV could only do this, then like suddenly a lot of options down the road are cut off when we never really needed to do that at all. Like, we should have some internal consistency for how it's being used and how it's like being portrayed in the world. But when you over explain and give it too much detail, you actually could end up damaging the very idea that you're trying to promote.
Man, there's so much gold in what you just said there. You know, um, yeah, you definitely don't want to explain things. You want to leave it mystical. Absolutely. You know, is Gandalf like what's Gandalf going to do? Oh, he's going to blind all the orcs. And it's you know at why am I forgetting the name? Two Towers. The final battle. Where's it at? Oh
Helm's
man,
Deep.
Helm's Deep. Yeah, he's gonna blind them all because it's his time to do it. You know, it's not because he has he ate the right sandwich beforehand and that's the right concoction that he had to make in order to have this. Like, some things just need to be mystic and spontaneous, and that's part of the whole thing completely. So I love the predestination angle there. Now, KOTOR 2, I find, and maybe I'm incorrect in this, I find that the whole time you're almost questioning, is everything predetermined, or is it nudging you? Is it kind of going with whatever you're doing? Like, is the Force kind of being guided by you? Is it guiding you? Is everything just pointless because you're going to go where you're going to go anyway? Because I find there's a lot of beautiful writing where Atten is talking about how he's falling in love with this Jedi, and he kills her. And to me, that doesn't feel like predestination. It almost feels like it was guiding him towards redemption, and he decided immediately in that angle he reverted back to his instinct and killed her. Almost fought where he was being guided, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but I guess that's my question. Is like, yeah,
So I definitely violated the predestination. Like, I'm like, predestination doesn't work for me. So
yeah,
in code 2, unfortunately, I am going to turn a blind eye to that suggestion that the franchise made. I'm like, I
awesome.
want your choices to matter. Like, I want them to come from you, because at its core, like, KOTOR 2 is Kreia's one point of view, and you're clashing with that point of view, and it's a
The
sounding
whole
board.
time.
Help you
Yeah.
define your argument. And that's the important bit. Almost nothing else like that. That's supposed to be the spine.
So Kreia's wrong then. Kreia's completely wrong in her philosophy. I
She,
love that you're
she,
like, no, she's not.
well, she raised some questions that I think we all would, but
Yeah.
her end conclusion is absolutely wrong.
One of the great things about that game is that it feels more personal and grounded, and I feel like Scion as a female exile is falling in love with me because of not only probably the beauty, of course, the naturalness there, but the envy, the jealousy that the exile could walk away from the Force and walk away from it. And he couldn't. it's almost it's like this infatuation there, which then ends to the final bit where you can persuade him to let go at the end, right? Like there's that, it feels personal with this guy, not so much Scion's going to destroy the whole galaxy and I need to stop him. Kreia, same thing. This person who's been with you this whole time wants to, basically, she's been manipulating you the whole time, almost like admitting that she's manipulating you the whole time in a weird way. But I'm going to kill the Force now, and you're going to be do it. But hey, I'm proud of you. I want to let you know that I'm proud of you, and you are my best student. You know what I mean? Like, there's all these moments where, like, it doesn't feel like, hey, we're going to blow up the Death Star here, and it feels like this personal, emotional moment. You know what I mean? And I love that about those.
Yeah. So another, and here's another off ramp from the franchise that I intentionally did, and I probably should have been more respectful. Otherwise, I'm just as guilty as everyone else I'm critiquing. But for me, I was getting tired of the Starforge, or whatever form the Starforge took.
So you made it a person.
I'm like, what? But honestly, I think that for a role-playing game, that makes it far more interesting. Like if I was dealing with Darth Vader instead of the Death Star, I'd find that very compelling.
Yeah.
When I'm dealing with Anakin, that's far more interesting than dealing with the Death Star, in my opinion.
Yes, completely.
Because I mean, it ties it back to the human choices, the whole nature of light side, dark side. Like that's the important stuff, not this giant technological mass that's churning out weapons or shooting big laser beams. That's not the important thing. Like that's just a threat, sure.
Yeah.
But like that's actually not the important part of the story.
Yeah,
so I'm like, because that stuff isn't an important part of the story, I just don't want to deal with it. So like I'm like, we're not going to have one of those things. It's going to be an event that happened, and like you're going to go back there, and like that's the moment.
I love the whole idea of what you've done with the aftermath of war. Again, going back to the exile, I find that idea of carrying the burden of being a wound in the Force and causing that mass, extinguishing of life there, but then also going back and then facing your consequences. And I think, like, the dark side path, I understand it's there, and I get why it makes sense. I want revenge on everybody. I'm coming back to finish the job, basically. I'm pissed off. But I think the light side version, it's so beautiful in a way because you've been through so much. You took your time. Now you're coming back to this. I mean, they had a whole freaking war after you left. So not only how terrible it was when you left, but now they've done it again. And you're coming back and you're slowly healing everything. This person's sick in the refugee sector. This person's daughter is being held captive by the exchange. You're helping the Ithorians heal a planet. Kreia's telling you, hey, the Ithorians, they're just using you to your own ends. And you're like, yeah, I know they are, and I'm going to help them. And I don't care that they're, using me to their own ends. I would help them if they weren't, right? I just think it's so well, beautifully. And not only that, but the companions, I even touched on the freaking companions. What am I doing? Visas Mar, this person who lost everything she ever had, basically a slave, basically wants to die, but finds you as the exile who, and again, I know I hate to say it, but because I know that a lot of people are like, I don't care about religion, but there's a lot of Christ stuff into it. Mary Magdalene, talking about, Jesus saving her from being, corrupted by the devil being, why I'm forgetting the word for it right now. And it doesn't matter. Saving Visas in that moment, right? And Beodor, same thing. All these different characters where you find them broken, but you're healing them, even though you have all of that pain. I think that's just so emotional.
Carter, the heart of that is that's what being a hero is all about. And I think that the light side needs to exemplify your ability to sacrifice for the betterment of everybody else, because and that's the most noble, unselfish thing you can do is you just, even when you have nothing, like even when you've been ruined, you still help other people and try and elevate other people around you. And that's light side to me, where, and that felt appropriate for those arcs.
Man, it almost, it almost makes me emotional thinking about it, man, because you think about it, because now I'm starting to think introspectively, right? Um, how important is it to, extend that hand to people who you might not talk to in your family, right? People who you haven't talked to in a long time, and they could be having issues, or even strangers that you might see who are having a tough time. Even just, hey, you see that homeless guy. I know you've been so conditioned to ignoring them. And yes, there is truth as well. That's also the beautiful part of it too. This is a great example. There is truth to what Kreia is saying. You can't make people dependent upon you either. That there is very much truth in that. So it is interesting, but I still think it's better to be good than to be cynical. You know what I mean? I think everyone would agree on that. I hope so. Probably not everybody would agree on that, but I hope people in their heart agree on all that, right?
Well, I mean, but a cynical critique with or a cynical action that doesn't that where the action has no positive goal is actually kind of dark sidey. Where it's like, well, you're sure you're showcasing the negativity in this situation. You're expressing what's negative of the situation because you feel that way and you feel like you need to get that out. But like that feels very dark sided to me because it's not helping the world. Like
right.
it's you venting something that makes you feel better, but you're not presenting a solution. You're just being cynical,
right.
and that's the part they have to get past. So
I think that's something that I could personally be better at. I find myself being a more cynical person, and my wife is the total opposite of me. Thank God, she's just amazing. She's like my best. Some people are like, "Oh, you just say she's best." No, she's like an angel compared to me. Everything I am, she is the opposite, and I love her for it. Counters me totally. But there's a lot of stuff in there that you can take. Now, to dive into the characters here, Atten, were you the lead? I don't know. I know that Beodor was someone else. Not Beodor, and then also Canderous was someone else as well, right?
Yeah, I did rewrite parts of Canderous because unfortunately the writer some of the dialogue that Canderous was doing didn't sound like a Mandalorian, and that was starting to bother me after a while because I'm like, you exemplify this race, and you sure as hell have gone to war in the worst possible situations. I don't feel like you would express yourself in the following ways. Like it's not bad writing, but it's not appropriate for that character based on the background. And so that was an issue. I know all the other ones I wrote. Yeah.
So I'm curious on that. Like Mandalorians, I didn't know about the Mandalorians other than Old Republic at the time. I feel like they blew up within the last 10 years and became this huge mainstream thing. But like at the time, all they were to me were like space Vikings, more or less. You know what I mean? Which there's so many, like the Krogan and Mass Effect are basically Mandalorians in a way, right? But yeah. Like how much lore was there when you were writing these characters? Like how were you creating the lore for the Mandalorian? Am I talking to the Mandalorian Godfather right now? Is that what I'm talking to?
Actually, I think a lot of that might have been BioWare, and then I think some of the expanded universe also touched on some Mandalorian stuff. But the only reason I think that they ever did it was because of the ties to Boba Fett. And they're like, well, now, because like when Boba Fett came out, like everybody wants to know everything about Boba Fett. They're
That's
like,
right.
Well, that symbol. Oh, like it's a Mandalorian symbol. Oh my God, what are the Mandalorians? Like that's the whole road that leads to the Mandalorian. And then
there's books and stuff.
Okay, for KOTOR 1, they're like, and these were going to be the cannon fodder for this particular war, and it gives a good sense of a backstory, and that the universe had been doing things before you ever showed up. And it provided good context for how everything was playing out in KOTOR 1. So I think Mandalorians were a good choice.
Yeah, I'm probably going to get just absolutely shamed by people for not, you haven't read Space Galaxies 5? It's like, oh man, here we go. It's like, yeah, how do you not know about the war of, Schmabiggle Pants? It's like,
how much
man.
Do you know about the Gear Wars?
I know. Well, the only reason I say that is because there was literally a war before KOTOR 1 with Mandalorians. I believe Exar Kun was involved. So like, anyway, guilty. But no, I thought that was wonderful. But did you write Atten?
Mm-hmm.
How fun was writing Atten? Just like at the surface level, he's kind of like a Han Solo kind of clone, but then there's so much more. How do you get from that kind of archetype, that the classic smuggler archetype, to No, this was a Sith assassin trained by Revan. How do you get to that point?
Yeah, Atten was supposed to do the whole pretend you're a cliche until you pull the rug.
Mm.
And that's a technique I learned from another writer. So I was like, hey, it'd be fun to do that with Atten. Because like we need a smuggler type character, but I don't want him to just be a smuggler, and I don't want him to be like a Han Solo knockoff.
Yeah.
Like even though he comes across that way almost immediately. But then like I'm like,
well, his
I
outfit, it's easy to see,
yeah,
right?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So that was part of the initial spine of that character. Then also, assassins are always cool.
Always
so I'm like,
cool.
I prefer that, like, okay, if he has a dark past, like, and it's tied to this whole conflict and tied to all the sneak attacks that they're using, then it's good to have a character that can speak to it. And it'd be kind of cool if Atten could, like, intimately. And you're like, oh, so now, like, when he's reciting this stuff, it feels like I have a first row seat to all the horrors that took place. And this is just one of the assassins. So God knows, like, how many times this story may have been repeated across the galaxy, and then the tragedy keeps building. But also, he was a good repository for all the ideas that I had about how to kill Jedi.
Yeah,
Where
him and HK both.
Oh yeah. And I actually tried to write a Clone Wars Adventures short story that also used those elements, and Dark Horse came back to me and said, "Look, we just can't. Like it's Clone Wars. Like this is too much. Like it's too
what do you
violent."
mean? General Grievous in that 2003 Gendy Tartakovsky Clone Wars show was genuinely scary.
Yeah, and actually it involved Grievous. The story involved Grievous.
Oh, dude, I would have loved to see that.
And I was inspired by the shorts that had been done, where I'm like, wow, they actually, like, I felt like that small series redeemed Grievous's entire character. Like I'm like, oh, so they made him something. Like they made him a real character. I'm like, and he was a real threat. And I'm like, oh, this is awesome. So I'm like, oh man, I want to do some more stuff with Grievous back when he was cool.
Just grabbing Jedi by the head and smashing Jedi. Like, what? Yeah, like, well then, like, you can totally see. I wish, because you're limited by the engine and how the characters move and stuff in KOTOR, I wish I could have seen like some kind of cut scene of like HK-47 taking out Sith assassins in the way he explains to you in some cool like ninja assassin droid way, because the way he talks about it, but it just makes sense. Like all the stuff that you would think, oh, okay, that makes sense. Like, sonic waves, grenades, those, it's just, and in Atten, play Pazak in your mind, so it keeps Jedi out of your mind. How genius is that? Oh, I'm playing Pazak. I love that so much, man. Like, it's like mother's milk. You smoke weed, it numbs your mind. They can't.
About Atten's whole thing, it was inspired by like 10 years before KOTOR 2, I spent like 2 or 3 years doing this psychic superhero source book that had like, multiple volumes and multiple characters. And I just went deep on psychic powers. And one of the comic book tropes they have is how to distract your mind so you can't get mind controlled, or they can't read your thoughts. So I was already kind of familiar with it from comics and research. So I'm like, it'd be kind of cool if Atten did that. But Pazak is actually the best way to do that because it's so tied to the game. And also, it's a good distraction element for also telepathy, where I'm like, oh, okay, well, maybe that can work. And for some people, it did.
Yeah, no, it's really creative. It's also loved what you guys did with Pazak too. You made it actually fun, which was cool because you added so many different cards and variants to it. Because
that was Rich Taylor.
Oh yeah, he did a great job with that, because the cards, like, the first game, yeah, it's okay, but the second game, it's really cool with the tournament and everything like that. And I love some of the moments you can have where, like, Atten's that's one of the best things about KOTOR 2 is like it just adds so much more to the first one, where you have these cool character moments where they step in and handle stuff for you. Isn't the first time I've ever seen anything like that. It's like, yeah, let me handle this with this one like Twi'lek girl in the cantina.
Yeah, I gotta tell you though, Carter, we do owe a lot of debt and appreciation to BioWare, because they set the foundation for almost all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I think if I had come up with a story on my own, like and KOTOR 1 had never existed, I don't think it would have been anywhere. I don't think it would have been good. Like, it was only after I played KOTOR 1 where I'm like, wow, that wasn't what I was expecting. It was a
Yes.
lot better than anything I'd hoped for from Star Wars.
Yes.
We really got to raise the bar. So actually, I trashed the first story we did and just wrote another one. I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck this old one. It's not going to work.
What was the old one? What was the old one?
Something bad.
Something
No,
bad.
like
What
basically the
yeah,
way
I'm
they had
curious.
the milestone set up was we had to deliver a story draft for KOTOR 2 before we'd ever played KOTOR 1. So I had to guess about what I was. And like
Oh.
we're literally all like they wouldn't share information, they wouldn't share design docs, they wouldn't share anything about the game
Oh.
until it got released. So we were waiting. So I scoured the website for BioWare where I'm like, any detail I can get out of these character
Okay.
descriptions and the Sith, like I'll try and read them the story, and it didn't feel very good. It didn't feel like it cooked. Um,
Okay.
and then I play KOTOR 1. I'm like, that story draft has got to go away because like there's something much better we should be doing, and it should build on the foundation of the first game. We just didn't know
Okay.
what the first game was about until later.
Okay, well, that totally makes sense. No, I think what you guys did with Kreia is just incredible. I mean, one of the best characters ever written. It shows that how much you guys really understood about Star Wars in general. I think a lot of people actually just simply don't understand KOTOR 2. There's a lot of that when you talk to people. They don't quite get it. I think that's a natural thing when you have a character that kind of speaks cryptically like that. And for you, like, how is it writing a character that like do you just need to like go like have a conversation with like a baby who can only say 4 words after doing Kreia writing for 4 hours? Like, I need to have a basic conversation. Yes, no, please, thank you. That's it. Like, I can only imagine what it's like. Oh my God, cryptic writing. I got to get out of this.
Well, I mean, there are some times where she gives you concrete answers to stuff, although it's a bit flowery. I just figured if you're as old as Kreia is, she is entitled to some embellishment because like,
Yeah.
she should be very well spoken after all she's been through.
It's a lot of
Uh,
writing for Kreia, man. She goes
yeah,
on. She goes
well,
on.
Sarah Kestelman, who did the voice acting,
Oh,
she really did. Like I think if anything made Kreia, Kreia, it was her. Like there
yeah.
were some lines that I'm like, I don't know if this is gonna work, and then we get the lines back from the studio. I'm like, I am blown away. Like you made that incredibly shitty line. Like sing.
Well, I don't know. I think you're being humble, which is awesome to hear. While we're on a topic, I can't forget. Tom Kane passed
Oh
away.
yeah, yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic voice actor. Kavar.
Audio too. I had no idea how much work he'd done in the
I
industry.
know. Me neither.
It was
Yeah.
insane.
Me neither. He went to a high school right next to mine in Overland Park, Kansas. Yeah, he went to Shawnee Mission South. We Our high school district has like Paul Rudd, Jason Sudeikis, Rob Riggle. Like we have like a weird actor thing and voice actor thing going on. But no, definitely wanted to touch on that. Well, why don't like okay, so I guess the last thing I want to touch on. There's so much in there, and people are going to be upset that I didn't touch on everything. I do apologize. But Kreia is just a fantastic character, right? And so is Brianna. I think that they're great.
Yeah, she was a lot of fun to do it too. I really enjoyed her too.
Yeah, I can only imagine what it's like creating all these dang characters and having them be in Star Wars lore forever. That would be
Well,
incredible.
what's kind of cool is like because each of the races in Star Wars has a little cool trait about them. And then once I realized the Achani's traits was they think super strategically, that was just such a fascinating concept where I'm like, wow, it's really
Yes.
cool to have an entire culture of people that think like this. And then I'm like, wouldn't it be cool if like Revan was even better than them? And they're like, oh, that'd be even cool. So like any like that, but just that one detail about their race was like a springboard to all sorts of other stuff. So I mean,
And they're well spoken and they're proper and trim. And I think a lot of Atris also has a lot to do with that. Atris is cool because it's all women that she's got surrounded about her. She's almost not sure about herself and following the dogmatic views of no attachment. So she surrounds herself with nothing that can be attached. And the funny thing is, it's like almost like a Jedi Council in that moment, frozen in time with what she's clinging to the past. But it's so funny because, she's a hypocrite. She just goes back up into her room with Sith holocrons at the end of the day, right? So just well written all around. And Revan too. I had this conversation, and I'm like if there's ever the Chris Avellone Crusades, I'd be one of your Templars, that's for sure. Because I had this conversation with the guy, and I was like, he's like, oh, Revan. He was arguing that Revan was like a bad character, and my weakness of mine is like, if I'm bad with fighting in comments and stuff. I can't help it. So if someone says something in one of my comments, like you'll find me every day fighting. I can't imagine being you where like you have people critiquing your work just out there in general. And sometimes you read it and you're like, that guy doesn't seem to fully grasp it. I think I'm going to try it. I would be bad about that. But the idea was like KOTOR 1, yes, is awesome. You're Revan, and there's not too much with Revan. He's the player character in the first one, more or less. You get a little bit of backstory, but you actually made Revan without him really being in the game, other than a little Force Ghost in Korriban. You actually created. That's so impressive what you have done to add so many layers to a character who isn't even in the game that you're building him up.
Well, we had to get that all set up for the third one, so nothing was a surprise when shit started going down. So basically, but there's a whole bunch of stuff going on there. So first off, I wanted to make sure that we were reacting as much as possible to events that had happened in the first game, because that reactivity is very important to me. Revan is like epitomizes that reactivity. So not only did I want to know like which side he'd gone to, but also certain decisions, and I'm like. But at the same time, this is the best opportunity to showcase other aspects about the character that you were playing that like you may never even known about. And it's a way to make you even cooler, where it's like whether you knew it or not, you had a plan and you knew something was wrong because you're like you're that tactical. Like you see the flaws in things and you see then things don't add up. And I thought that was a great way of reminding you about Revan into the third game, but also like layering on the complexity. So like you're building up the next encounter for Revan, where you're like, it's not just the first game stuff, but like all these other stuff that she was thinking about. Holy shit. Like
you're creating this god. Yeah, you're creating this like this ultimate hero, which you did so well. And in my opinion, just to touch on that too, because people they always talk about this. I don't hate Star Wars: The Old Republic. I actually love the game, but I look at it as a separate continuity. And I look at the first one just never got finished. I understand that there are probably decisions made from above that, hey, we have this Revan character, we can profit on him. Let's use his likeness and make it in the Revan era. And we can justify Republic versus Sith and make this big thing like Horde versus Alliance and WoW. I get the idea behind it, and I actually don't somewhat hate a lot of it. I actually like the Revan novel. It's like back somewhere like right here. I think it does some things incredibly well. It feels like a Star Wars movie when you're reading it. It just feels like the ending to it, and the ending happens really quickly. But I feel for Drew Karpyshyn in a way as well. Have you ever talked to him at all about Star Wars at all? Probably not, I would imagine.
Oh, we've talked about other things, but we haven't really dug deep into Star Wars, strangely enough.
I feel like you two are like, with this specifically, are forever connected, because you kind of have this pass off, if you will, where
I can see.
Yeah, and he kind of picks up where you left off with KOTOR 2. So he kind of started it, and then you kind of took it, and then we're going to go this way, and he had to take it and kind of turn it another way. What's your overall opinion on, where they took it, considering they probably were told where to take it, if that makes sense?
Actually, you know what? This is a shameful admission, but after KOTOR 2 was over and we discovered that we could not do a KOTOR 3, I got blindsided by so many other projects at Obsidian that I had to also do the same amount of research for that I did with Star Wars, that basically I shelved Star Wars. I'm like, well, if there's no immediate future there, I can't.
Why am I wasting energy?
Well, I mean, I can't keep up with all this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's so much already where I'm like, okay, well, I need to reserve parts of my brain for the other thing to come and try and make them as good, like even better than KOTOR 2. So everything that came out concerning Star Wars after KOTOR 2, I only saw bits and pieces of various releases. And so I never read the Revan book. I never read the one that involves the exile. I don't know if it's a different title or it's the same one.
The same book. Yeah. Same book.
Yeah, I never read that. I just heard about it. So yeah, I just didn't keep up.
So
with
for
that
you,
stuff.
it's just like, yeah, it happened, and my story's not done yet, more or less. That's how you kind of look at it.
You sort of, but also like, it's going to sound kind of weird. So when I was growing up, I never thought I'd write for games. I thought I'd write for comic books, and comic books train you to realize it's not your character. What you're doing, you're borrowing it from, and you're going to tell your story of that character, and then it's going to go to Peter David, it's going to go to Bill Willingham, whoever it happens to be, and then they're going to do their version of that Marvel character. But you don't ever feel possessive of it. You're like, it's just the way it is. And that's how I feel about Kreia and Revan and Fallout. It's like, I don't own those characters. And besides, Revan is you. Like, I don't own you. Like, I can't fully tell the experience that you want because only you know what that is. So like, I don't feel possessive about those things. The only times I get upset is just when something isn't well crafted, where like people didn't take time to do it properly. And then that bothers me.
Okay, no, fair enough. That definitely saves some time from hitting on those things there. Anyway, to wrap up on that, like I think you did a great job. Kreia, is fantastic. Origin of being this Jedi historian. You know what I mean? Just falling in love with this Ichani general, and then going to fight in Malachor, and then finding the exile, and then being so gracious as to have her daughter on board with them. It's just, I think that's incredible, Chris. I'm
sorry, who was on board? Very clever, Carter.
I think it's just incredible of you. Okay, well, I mean, I'll ask the question, okay? And I know, but I'm going to ask it anyway. I
think I know.
Aaron K, obviously, Brianna, for those who know, Brianna's mom has a very, very, very strikingly similar background to Kreia in the game. And the way Kreia describes Aaron K, who they were both historians, but when you talk to Kreia, this is the big, in my opinion, hand tipping or wink, is she describes Aaron K, and this is so beautifully done by you, I might add. She says, she was said to be, she goes, she was, pauses, said to be beautiful. Almost a little bit of humility in whoever that might be. So directly, I'll ask you now, because I did my Kreia version of dancing around it. Is Aaron K. Kreia?
I have resolved not to answer that question until, in the hopes that one day I will do another Star Wars game.
Okay.
However, to address some things. First off, congratulations on you for paying attention, and also you got the beat right. And let me tell you, I'm a big fan of using beats to throw the flags up and go, this might be important.
Yeah.
Like Kreia doesn't usually pause.
Yeah.
So when she does, there's something of importance about it. So it's good that you picked up on that. I can't give any more information in the hopes of a much brighter future, but that's a question mark that will remain a question mark until I either do a Star Wars game or die.
Yeah, that's okay. Okay.
I will make sure that before I die, I tell someone to pass along the information.
George R. R. Martin Jr. over here. Okay. All right. Is what it is, man.
Oh, come on, man. I wanted to write KOTOR 3. It's not like I didn't. It's like I'm sitting around going, oh, man.
And I'm happy that we had you tell us.
For it. It's like 10 years. I just haven't gotten around writing KOTOR 3. I just don't have the opportunity.
Okay, so like Fate of the Old Republic, Casey Hudson's kind of seems like he's getting a lot of the BioWare folks back together. You're a freelancer. Have you thought about just saying, hey, Casey, by the way, I'm here if you need me kind of thing?
I think if Casey wanted to, he could
Just
reach out.
he could reach out to you.
Well, no, but here's why I don't reach out to Casey.
Okay.
It's because when Casey was heading up Knights One, he was already making all the right decisions. Like,
Yep.
because when he was in the development process, again, I heard this secondhand, but like he brought all the people in the room on the team. He's like, on this whiteboard, we're going to list out everything that's Star Wars, and like everyone did, and you can see that in the game. Like you have the Millennium Falcon, like you have R2D2, like you have C3PO, even though it's psychotic. Like they hit all those touchstones, and that was such an important part of the process to get right that I feel like I don't really like if it was his decision to say, hey, no, I think Chris would be a good fit for this, then I would trust that. But if he doesn't, I would also trust that because he's made so many other right decisions.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm sure, you're kind of snake bitten with two things. One KOTOR 2 and of course the other one New Vegas, and what I mean by that is you're on a very tight schedule. You have to get things out in a certain time, so you're not able to really put out the product that you wish you could put out. I feel for you in that respect. But there's another thing too that I've noticed about your work, and I'm curious, and maybe this gets personal, but I don't mean it to be. I want it to be positive, and I mean it to be positive. But you've almost become like you're one of the greatest writers of all time. And I love that you're going to be humble about it. I love that you're going to be humble about it, and that's how you should be. And of course, that's how we all should be. We should all be humble. And but it's just objectively fact. And it seems like you're always on projects that are not yours. And what I mean by that is, going on ground zero on something. And you barely missed Fallout. In fact, you probably could. I know you talked about that's a regret of yours. You could have been there, but you weren't. How do we, Chris, when are we going to get a Chris Avellone inspired led IP going? When are we going to get that? It's got to happen. I know you got stories in your mind there.
So the way it's kind of shaken out is so when I went freelance, but even before that, like you're right, I was working in someone else's sandbox, and even after freelancing, I did that too. But I kind of did that consciously because I was worried I'd spent too much time in one sandbox and then had never learned anything beyond a certain point where I'm like, keep doing the same things, like I'm not going to grow. So I did new genres. I worked with different companies. I saw how they organized stuff. I saw how their writing teams worked. I saw how their creative process worked. I get to work with Ken Levine. And I'm like, oh, so that's how Ken approaches a story. That's the things he thinks about. Like that's how he designs all that stuff out. And I'm absorbing all this because I'm like, well, one day, like if I create a studio, so I make my own games, like I'd want all this information. But the other snake bite to that, and thanks for using that expression because it's a good one.
I know I'm terrible. I'm sorry.
No, it's good. It's good. It's appropriate for this because the snake bite of this is if you do go to form your own company, then you write less. Like you suddenly you get broken off from the creative process. And I know that there's ways like if you have a super small studio, like maybe you can make it work, but there's so much as at Obsidian. Like I saw all of that owner and business stuff, and I saw how much it took them away from the front lines and the trenches and working on the games.
Right.
And I don't ever want to be that. Like that's not where I want my life to go. I'm like, I love to write. I love to write for worlds. I love entertaining people. That's what I want to do. So like starting my own company, that I would do less of that. So that hurt. So what I was kind of looking for was, is there a studio that is coming out like with just a very general concept where that literally they will give you free reign to write everything? And that has never happened. Like even despite how many times they promise it and like in the first few days of the contract, it never turned out that way. And it's just the reality of the situation. Because usually like new companies, look, they already have an idea in their head about how they want the story to go and the characters. Yep. They come with some preconceived notions. They don't. Not all of those will work. I mean, you can find a way to make them work. But when they do that, it just means it's 100% not yours, which is fine. But that's why like when I work with other companies, like it's not a solely Chris Avellone experience, and nor should it be. That's why like it's never been 100% me. It's
Yeah,
either
it
on
sucks.
your own studio or find the right union where you can do all the writing you want to do. And one thing I'll say is, but even when it wasn't mine, like I still felt grateful for doing the work, and like I'm really happy I got to work on KOTOR 2. I'm really
Oh,
happy for all the fallouts, even though
yeah.
they weren't mine. And I'm like, I still think I did work that I was really happy with, even in someone else's sandbox. And I'm like, I'm still okay with that. And
Well,
like,
I'd consider you probably Fallout 2. Like you're probably in. I think you're considered to be in that group of who created Fallout. Man, that's. I mean, I know you weren't, but you kind of were. You know what I mean? Like at least somewhat. You know, you created the foundation, or at least you branched off of what Tim and them did. So I want to give you credit where that's due.
no,
Um,
that's very generous of you. I think we didn't really understand what we were doing with the franchise. I mean, so basically, we were guilty of a lot of the things that I brought up in this podcast about being respectful to a franchise. But I think once you learn those lessons, you never want to make those mistakes again, ever, because you see the damage it does.
well, I mean, I hear. So I sent you over those YouTube videos that I did there, and that was my first attempt at writing. And I've got a few other.
I watched it all the way through.
I can't believe you did that. That's incredible. I told my lead animator about that, and he had a blast. I've got 3 animators. He probably does the best work, and he does a lot of the work, and he was really happy to hear your feedback on that.
Yeah, actually, I wasn't sure if you want to bring it up. So actually, I
Yeah.
did transcribe all my feedback for once.
I
'Cause that's
cannot believe you have feedback. I'm feeling so spoiled. This is like
well,
my
well,
birthday.
or as a joke, I will now present the first piece of feedback,
Oh, I'm
and
so
and
ass.
and,
Oh
and,
god.
and what you've done that I thought was so brazen that I had no choice but to respect it. Um,
Oh.
so you know the origins of the purple lightsaber, right?
The origins of the purple lightsaber is Samuel Jackson saying, I want a purple lightsaber," and George Lucas letting him have it.
Correct. So,
Okay.
but what you did is you're like, not only am I going to have a purple lightsaber, I'm going to have a Darth Maul purple lightsaber.
Yeah.
So I'm even better than Sam Jackson. I'm like, God damn, son.
I can't take credit, man. A lot of that stuff. So a lot of the stuff, like I'll tell you what, I have such a great team, and you know what it's like doing these projects where you kind of, all I did was write it, and I have to tell you, I wrote it, and it was like one of those moments, and I know you've had this, you've absolutely had this, where like you can't stop writing. You're like, oh my god, I'm on fire! Like this is amazing, and I need to put it out right now. I'm going to go to Reddit. I'm going to find an artist. I'm going to find an animator. I'm going to find a bunch of people, and I just put it all out, and it's taken like 5-6 years to finish it, but the first couple I just rapid fired put out. But you're working with people and they all have great ideas and add so many different things in. And that second or the first one there, when he's like, "Ooh, this is where the fun begins," and he pulls out a KOTOR 2 copy. It's like that was his idea. A lot of that stuff happens, but I am like kind of. I'm sure you have this feeling, but my first feedback to myself after is like, man, you really got to like look over stuff or get it to people who are going to be critical and tear it apart for you and give it back to you, because I didn't do that. And there's so many places where I'm like, oh, that's so cringy. Oh, I can't believe I wrote that. Oh, I messed up the prose in the beginning and the title crawl. At the end, I used our heroes on there, and I published it, and it's there forever. Like, I don't know. I learned a lot from that.
Yeah, by the
Definitely.
way, for the audience out there, so Carter has all of the episodes that he's written online, and it's Star Wars: Scars of the Old Republic. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, and you can find that on YouTube. So just so you know what we're talking about.
Yeah, sorry, I'm ranting and I get worked up and excited. But yeah, no, I think it's, I was talking about it a lot earlier, where you pay attention when you're playing video games to video games you play, because you have an eye for that stuff and you know what you're looking at. The quest design, you're focused on that. The UI, the main character, the antagonist. You can't like relax and enjoy it. Well, now I find that I'm not looking at it with a critical eye, but more of a learning eye, like when I watch Invincible.
Mhm.
Or, oh my God, have you seen Castlevania, the animated show?
I watched the first 3 seasons of it, and I enjoyed it.
Oh my God, when I watched that, it was so awesome. Um, but yeah, the point is that I'm watching these and I learned from it. But no, I guess I'm ranting because I'm fanboying right now, and you read and you watched it, and like I'm like, oh god, I'm kind of embarrassed. I'm
Well,
like, oh, he watched it.
Kurt, you're not ranting. Like what you're describing is actually, I think, an important writer technique. Um, so when you say that you're watching something or reading something and you're trying to learn from it, some of the best character ideas come from absorbing a certain piece of fiction or media that really emotionally bothered you or made you feel like a lot of my heroic inspiration will just come from heroic stories that were heroic to me that I saw, where I'm like, I don't know if everyone else would appreciate that, but I really liked what that one character did. It made me feel like, it teared me up. It hurt me inside because I
Mm-hmm.
recognize the progress they're making. Not everyone would have the same reaction, but all of that becomes character fuel where you're like, oh wow, like that villain in that book really fucking pissed me off. But then I break it down. I'm like, but how did the author do that? Like what details and what pacing did he do that generated that really negative reaction from me?
Yep.
I want to learn how to replicate it because that's a powerful tool in your arsenal.
Yeah, no, and absolutely. And a lot of the stuff you talk about, kind of inspiration, you probably could have, you could tell a lot of the stuff was, KOTOR 2 themes really. Um, Same ideas. We're 40 years after this SWTOR war that went on forever and ever and ever. And the Jedi Masters are all pretty bad because that's all that are left. They're not really that good at what they do. They probably didn't have masters themselves growing up. Like they probably had one who shared 30 different students, right? And these two kids who are pretty much more powerful than their masters, and they kind of know it. They grow this tight bond, and one of them is the descendant of Revan, so he doesn't feel arrogant about it, but he feels this like, I need to fill these big shoes. But he's just so happened to be best friends with this kid who hates him for it, but is also his best friend. He hates that he feels like he's stronger, but everyone's looking at him because he's Revan's. Like, that idea to me, it'd be like Michael Jordan's son at basketball camp, basketball school, and then your best buddy's better than you. It's like, dude, I'm better than you, but you're Michael Jordan's son. You know what I mean?
Well,
I like that.
I liked a lot of the aesthetic touches you put in too, because this isn't a spoiler for those watching. So in the last battle in the episodes, I mean up to a current point, because I know there's still
Yes.
more.
Yeah.
When you have the flashbacks interspersed as like the fights going on, and you're
Could have
watching
been better. Yeah.
No, that was good because
Yeah.
what you're doing is like not only is the action playing out, but then you're seeing like the impetus behind it, and with those
Mhm.
flashbacks of the characters, I'm like, wow, that's really cool. Anyway, so I thought that was really well done.
No, appreciate it. Absolutely. And one of the things about that was I wanted to, it was pretty violent, this fight scenes in there. And I'm like, I was with my guys and I'm like, they're a bunch of animators, and they're working on a pretty damn big discount working with me. I mean, that's a lot of work I'm putting them through, and they're kind of building out their resume with it. I'm like, guys, I want you to imagine what it would really be like to fight a Jedi. How horrifying and scary it would be to like these, hey, lightsabers supposed to cut through you like butter. Imagine what that would be like. You know what I mean? Like, one boom, he's in half. This guy, his head's cut off. Like, to me, it's pretty violent, and kind of, they got a little edgy in some instances. Like, one guy smashed his hand and the guy blew up. But to me, that concept would be crazy, because a good example of this is Witcher 3. When Geralt is killing humans, he actually scares the people around him, even though they were potential rapists and murderers. But he's so violent and efficient that he scares the people he's trying to protect, and I think that's interesting. So anyway, not to.
Well, I mean, it's a great dichotomy in a situation, because this person who's there to help you and save you, which you would imagine to be like this shining noble protector, and then you see it happening, and it's nothing like that. It's actually almost as horrid as the people attacking you, and you're like,
Yeah.
wow, like it really wakes you up, and it's such a cool contrast, because it's defeating the expectation.
Mhm.
Um, and I think it just makes it stronger for it. So I think that's a good direction to go, and it's a great way of giving jolts to your audience, where you're like, and also it's like you're basically telling me it's not formulaic, it's not predictable. That's what we're going for here. We're trying to show the reality of this certain situation.
Yeah.
If this stuff actually was real, this is not far off the mark.
Yeah, that's the idea. Yeah. Well, hey, I appreciate it. I'm just gonna do last thing I'm gonna do here is I put on Reddit. Hey, I'm interviewing Chris Avellone. What kind of questions do you guys have? So Reddit has, you know how Reddit is. You already, you're good. You get it. So yeah, you get it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well,
are they trying to stay Star Wars as capitalist now? Sorry.
I gotta reopen.
Oh my god! Why did I even like? I even had Tim Kaine come in and say, "Look, that's what nothing." Like it just doesn't sink in. Anyway, no, please.
I feel like you're like taking a shower and then like you like see like your soap and then you see like a brand of a company and then you start thinking of a Fallout brand and then you start thinking about the TV show and you're like, it's everywhere. You know what I mean? Like you drink a Coke and all you see is Coca-Cola ads. It's like,
well, that happened to me. Like when I was looking at the California flag, when the first time I saw it, I'm like, where's the second head of the bear?
You know what's funny about that is this is the so I restarted. I had 120 podcast episodes. I deleted all of them. I restarted fresh. First guy was
you deleted 120 podcasts.
I basically made them like hidden, but they're still there. But they're hidden. But a lot of them were like stupid, like me talking to myself, and I wasn't proud of the quality. Anyway. The point is, I would just interview the first guy I interviewed. So you're the second person, and it's awesome. Thank you for being here so much. The first one was Jakob Van Bursky. He is the community lead over at Madfinger Games. They do Gray Zone Warfare. You would know better DayZ. You know DayZ, the zombie game? Sure, he was the community lead for that game for a long time. Now he's with this new one. It's a new game, been going for 2 years. It's an alpha. Chris, really interesting. So the premise is kind of like Stalker-ish. So it's a tactical shooter. You probably don't like shooters too much. I know you did Prey, but you probably don't play a lot of shooters, I imagine.
I play some Marvel Rivals and
okay, you play Marvel.
Not really the same thing.
But it's like more like Tarkov Squad, that kind of like realistic idea behind it. But they did their own. So they're on this island called Lemong. And basically, this island's been evacuated completely. And there's 3 military contractor factions that you choose to play in. And you go in with your boys and it's open world constantly, like an MMO kind of. And you go in and you do these. So it's an extraction shooter. You loot and you get out. But there's a story in there. And the story is in the middle of this island. They haven't put it out yet because it's still an alpha, but there's this ground zero and there's some kind of anomaly, and it could be aliens. It could be some kind of nuclear radiation thing. It could be electromagnetic field. We don't really know yet, but there's like, the lore is not telling you. It's like intel you pick up throughout the world while you're out there raiding, which is really, really cool. So, the reason I brought it up was, Jakob wanted me to bring up that he had actually met you. He said you went to Czechoslovakia, I believe, for an event.
Yeah.
And he hung out with you and he had his new NCR hat on, and he was like, yeah, I had a great conversation with Chris.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. Wow. Yeah, no, it was a really good convention and everyone was really nice. And I'd never been to Czechoslovakia before. And I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. Yeah, no, I had a really good time.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was like, yeah. Well, you might know him. Yeah, Chris Avellone. Was like, Chris Avellone. Yeah. I know that guy. He owes me money. Yeah.
I'm right with the anomaly story for a second there, Carter. I thought you were going to be setting me up for a joke. We're like, in between all these 3 military camps is the body of Caesar, and no one's been able to get to his corpse. And I'm like, now you're just funning
me. Yeah. Man, yeah. Okay, so I'll ask these questions here. Number 1 here. How much do you love Macaulay Culkin as the new Caesar? No, I'm kidding. That's not a real question.
I actually thought it was interesting. They made a good looking.
Yeah. Oh well, the armor was cool. I was kind of shaking my head on the casting. I think for his. But anyway, no, really. How were Revan and the Exile stories supposed to end?
Ooh, and there wasn't a ending. There were endings.
Can you give us two potential?
I cannot because I want to save them. Like, so here's the thing. I've talked about KOTOR 3 a lot. I've got a lot of hints.
You have.
But I have never said what happens at the end. Like, and that with all due respect to the question asker, like I promise
you want to keep that. Yeah.
In my will, I will say what I thought it should be, just to make sure it gets out there. But until then, I don't want to talk about it.
It's funny. So I would have liked to see. I think it's just because I'm older and I have a messed up head. I think, like, for example, I wanted Walt Goggins at the end of the last season of Fallout to find his daughter as a centaur or a super mutant, because like all that work just to find out because she was outside during the nuclear bomb going off, and I wanted her mom in desperation to give her FEV and then put her in the cryogenic thing, and then she comes out as like this centaur or something. I thought that would have been like, oh my god, but that's like weird horror element. That's way out there. But I would have liked to see Revan kind of go back and then become the true Sith in a way, kind of like Exile goes and finds him and like he's actually like he is the big bad. And I think that would have been like you created the second protagonist who's the true protagonist and it pulls at your heartstrings, but that would have pissed people off. Or he would have died.
No, playing heartstrings is fun. But to give respect to the person asking the question, because I don't want to give a non-answer. The important thing is that Revan matters all the way to the end. The Exile matters all the way in, and the True Sith matter all the way to the end. Like, Revan doesn't show up as a cameo in KOTOR 3. He's integral to KOTOR 3.
Okay, can you at least tell me what the True Sith is in some level, or no?
So, in my opinion, the Sith that are present largely in the Star Wars universe are very watered down versions of what the Sith have been, what they were, like the amount of power and influence they could wield on a scale that's almost unimaginable. Like, right. Sure, like, the Empire might, conquer a huge part of the galaxy, but in the realms of the True Sith, like that's a drop, like in the size of their empire, and their empire is a nightmare. Like it's under their control, like no doubt. But like it's like going to hell. You're like, but what I wanted to do was like, if there were Force users that truly embraced like the absolute heart of the dark side, like what would their corners of the universe look like? And I'm like, and I just went.
I love that. That's such a horrific idea.
There would be so many horrible. I mean, there's good there too to be found, and there's good that you have to create. But at the same time, you would go into systems and universes, and you're like, oh my god, like it's. I thought I could fight this, and like. It's almost unimaginable.
Yeah, it's like Thrag, when he says, "Hey, how do we fight this?" and Nolan looks at him like, "We can't fight this, dude." but no, actually, I think what's really cool is like it almost gives me Lord of the Rings vibes a little bit. One thing that Lord of the Rings does really well, and one thing I don't like about Lord of the Rings, that like it's pretty much everyone gets a happy ending. Not really, like Frodo obviously and has to go off and away and all that, but it seems like nobody really dies important other than our boy Ned Stark there, Sean Bean, who always dies and everything. But you knew that going into it because it's Sean Bean. But one thing they always do is like they present, and their art is so good at this too. They present evil as this like you kind of like this huge monstrous thing you can't even comprehend, like Gothmog and like Sauron truly at Sauron's height. I hate that in the movies. A lot of people think like, oh, just this big eye and this guy. But I think that what that evil represents with the orcs and everything dying and there's no humanity there. I think that that's really an interesting thought. The Sith are not just a bad Jedi, right? No, they're like truly horrific. I think that's an interesting thought. So
Yeah, and also with us with the true Sith, our intention was not to make just representations of like cartoony psychotic evil, because for me that's not very interesting. What they were doing was they'd represent a spectrum of various evils, like things you may not even expect or even always consider to be an evil would have been represented in the gallery of characters that you either meet, confront, fight, whatever it happens to be. But you'd see the whole spectrum of evil, not just we're going to war.
oh,
There was even nuance even in that heavy-handed approach where like it wasn't just about like, oh, now we're just going to fight a bunch of Darth Vaders. Like that was never the goal. Like these
nobody
guys
wants to do that. Yeah. Yeah, nobody wants to do that, like yeah, exactly. I played the Starforged level on KOTOR. I don't need to kill a million Sith in a row. But no, I had something smart there. Dang it! I feel like I do that all the time. I'm like, man, I should have said that.
I keep interrupting you, so I apologize.
No. It's all gold. It's all gold. Absolutely. All right. So the next one here. See, some of these you actually already answered. Like, would you return for another KOTOR? Would you return for a KOTOR 2 remake?
Yeah, because I had a pretty positive experience with the remastered Planescape Torment, and as long as it's approached the right way, and I think Beamdog did approach the remake the right way, where they're like, we're not gonna like we're not messing with the story, like, but what we're gonna do is just quality of life improvements. And but at the same time, we were able to fix some pretty egregious story stuff. Anyway, like that's what I'd want KOTOR to be, where it's a more quality of life. Hopefully, we could get the elements that were cut back in, which would be really nice because that really killed me. But and also diminished, I think, the experience for everybody. So like, I would want that stuff reintegrated, and I owe the mod makers and the mod community a huge debt of gratitude for even resurrecting that stuff, which I got tons of shit for, by the way, because like all those other owners at Obsidian were like, how dare you left that stuff in? Like now everyone sees like all that content. I'm like, I'm glad they saw that content, so fuck you.
Why would they be upset about that?
I think it might have hurt their production sensibilities.
Oh man, I gotta tell you, like that game without the cut content it's just not in the same, like, you gotta have it. You gotta have it. You know what I mean? Like you're missing so much. After you play it with it, it's hard to imagine doing without. So anyway.
Carter, it was miserable because like the marketing folks would come down from LucasArts, and like I think their marketing director or whatever was rah-rahing us about what an achievement KOTOR 2 was and all the money it made. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, this is not a victory. Like you somehow think that releasing an unfinished product that makes a lot of money is a good thing, and I'm like, no.
Yeah,
like
it's a good thing the industry stopped that. Yeah, it's a good thing they stopped doing that in the industry. Yeah. I mean, it's a good thing they learned their lesson in 2005 to not do that anymore. Anyway, yeah. So shoot, yeah. You actually said it just now. Actually, money being a thing, right? You mentioned it earlier with Fallout being a success and a commercial success and all that. Yeah, so was a sequel trilogy. They had good reviews and they made a lot of money too, but they're still ass. That's all I want to say. That's all I want to say.
But I think George Lucas learned that lesson where like I think he was quite aware that it's one thing to be hugely commercially successful, but you don't feel quite as good about the work. And like you're like those things don't equate.
Yeah, no. I remember after like watching those movies, you come out of it and you're like, and this happens with other stuff too, but you want it to be good, and then you come to reality like, man, it just wasn't. I had that with House of the Dragon. I'm such a Game of Thrones, like, I have all the books behind. I love that world he created is so amazing and dark, and that's just kind of my vibe. Um, but when you're watching House of the Dragon, it's like, dude, are we just gonna be hallucinating in a castle the whole season? Like, is that what's gonna be happening here? You know? So anyway.
You know, Carter, I could do a whole hour on the danger of dream sequences and hallucinations and how they waste the viewer's time, but I think you already
understand. Okay, I'll do two more here. This guy's, yeah, I'm scrolling past the ones that we've touched on. We've touched on a lot of these, which is good. That means I'm doing my job here. Right. This one here says, please talk. It's a demand. And I've never played it. Okay, so don't hate on me. Maybe you tell me I should or not. Please talk about Alpha Protocol. Okay, Chris, please talk about Alpha Protocol.
Alpha Protocol is an espionage RPG that came out around the same time as Mass Effect 2 and Splinter Cell, both of which are superior games to Alpha Protocol.
Espionage.
Yeah, espionage RPG. Our CEO and our tech director thought it'd be fun to do a spy RPG, and then they lost interest 6 months in, and they delegated it to a sometimes confused team that had different visions for it since there was no longer a vision holder. And then we had to come in and do a reboot. And it basically was our attempt to do like, hey, you could be James Bond, you could be Jack Bauer, and there's another J I'm missing in there. But anyway, you could form the whole range of different spycraft archetypes and go and save the world, or join the bad guys and blow up the world, like whatever you wanted to do.
It sounds cool. But the elevator pitch sounds cool.
Game I expected to work on, I inherited it. This would happen a lot. They're like, "Oh, well, this game isn't going great, so Chris, you get to be leaving."
Save us.
It sucked. Because like so many decisions are made by that point where you're like, okay, well, I basically have this collection of chess pieces, and now I have to figure out, how chess works. But Alpha Protocol was kind of like that. I enjoyed doing the work, but the end result wasn't like the best game ever. But I did enjoy working on it.
Okay, that's good. I didn't know about it. And then the last one here, because a lot of these are kind of the usual kind of KOTOR 3 questions. But this one here, he kind of asked some deeper questions. When creating the characters, was it a mandate that T3, HK, and Canderous all return as party members, or was that organic?
Oh, that was totally organic. Those were 3 people that I wanted to come back. So first off, they were easy choices. So first off, T3 I always liked, and plus he's low budget.
Like, sounds a lot better in the second game. I like his sounds better. He sounds more R2.
I love his character so much. I went crazy with like even like his dialogue is more complicated than it was. Yeah. Anyway, I love T3, so he was always going to show up. HK, loved HK. I thought there's more we could do with him. Want to keep him going because like. Part of that was a franchise reason because like R2 and C3PO are kind of like the narrators that go through Star Wars. I wanted to make sure HK and T3 stayed together for that reason too.
Yep.
And then Canderous felt important because so much of the game concerned going back and examining the history of the Mandalorian Wars that not having him there felt like just a horrible omission where I'm like, that's the guy that was there. Like, and he's leading the Mandalorians. Like, that's the guy I want to speak to. So,
I love
those
that.
Those 3 people were pretty much guaranteed.
Yeah. While we're on this topic,
not a mandate at all.
Awesome. I have 2 more questions for you, and I'll finally let you go. I've been way overdue here. So, Beodur, I always wanted to know this, and it kills me every time. And I finally got you cornered. Did Beodur die? And he's gone. Did Beodur die at the end of KOTOR 2? And his so yeah, if you don't remember, so his remote goes around and activates the shadow generator on his command, but you don't see him. He's not one of the people who are like captured, or he doesn't have any cutscenes at the end with Kreia. He's just kind of, that's it. He's basically got like a final mission, but he's nowhere to be seen after the crash of Malachor.
You know what? I think he does because. But not because I remember the story element. There was a production reason why I think he's dead.
Okay.
That was the strangest voice recording session I've ever been in. I liked the actor. It was not a good fit for him, and I also think that the voice director was not being especially good working with that actor either. So like that session was brutal. Like
Oh,
it was
really?
not fun. I felt really bad for the actor because there was so much tension between the director and him.
Oh, really?
Where literally I felt like he was trying to give the best performance he could, but the director couldn't quite articulate what they wanted Bayo's tone to sound like. So he was really struggling because he had nothing to work with. So like he would literally do like 7 or 8 takes of a line, and he was just almost desperate about it because he'd be taking shots in the dark trying to figure out what the director was looking for. And I'm like, I felt bad for that guy. I wish we could have like tripled his salary and go, I am so sorry about this.
Yeah. No.
So I think that was like, you know what? Maybe that's a reason to let Bayodur have his last moment here because I don't think it's going to work good for anybody if he persists. And also,
I love the behind the scenes. That's actually gold what you just provided there.
That's my recollection, only because I wasn't writing his scene at that moment, and he was actually written by another person. So I don't have the full story on it.
Okay, yeah. That's really interesting. That's a lot of people are gonna love that one. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, really, that's all. I mean, I could go on and on and on. I just want to be respectful to you, man. You're a busy guy. But I definitely appreciate everything. You know, was there any Kreia influence in Ulysses at all?
No, Ulysses was
No.
a different character. I mean, Ulysses' whole point was it just always struck me that in New Vegas there was no companion who could intelligently speak to the culture of Caesar's Legion. And they didn't have to be part of Caesar's Legion at all. It was just it's always good
Expound on it.
when each
Yeah.
faction can talk about their experiences of the faction. And Ulysses, I was like, man, we should really have somebody like that. If we can't get Vulpus to do it, I wanted Vulpus to be it. But like,
Would have
well,
been a
I'm
good
like, okay,
choice.
well, let's do a courier thing, and like, but we'll tie it into Legion more and have them be scouts, and that was kind of more the impetus for Ulysses. Kreia was more inspired just by a whole bunch of different Star Wars tropes, and then also coming off of Planescape Torment, I felt that there was more stories to do with Ravel Puzzlewell, and so that had some influence on
Right.
Kreia.
Right. Yeah, I was just wondering because he's kind of like this mirror to all your choices. But like I said, a lot of this stuff do you ever last question. I keep saying that, but last question. Do you ever write something and fans connect dots on something where you're almost like, I wish I had seen that connection earlier and made that and kind of made that a thing. The only reason I asked that is I've heard, because Game of Thrones, everyone has a million different things, and George R. R. Martin actually brought that up. He's like, I wish I had thought about that, and I always wonder if that's like a common thing.
It does happen. It's usually too late for me to do anything about it. But I'm like, wow, that would have been a much more fun way to do that, or a much smarter or cooler way to do it. I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah, no, awesome, right on. Well, hey, Chris, thank you so much. You're very gracious for lending me your time, and it was a blast. It was absolutely a blast.
Carter, I really appreciate you having me on, and for the audience out there, Carter has the Star Wars The Old Republic up on YouTube. Go check it out. He's got all 3 episodes up there. It's a 30-minute block, and there is a finale that's supposed to be coming up, or more episodes. Which I was going to ask you, Carter, when are those coming out, man? When's the next installment?
It's coming out when KOTOR 3 drops. Sure. No, I'm working on it, dude. The animation's hard, man, because it takes a long time. But I will say, it's a blast to do. I'm actually working on some other stuff. There's a Western story I'd like to tell because I like those old Westerns. I don't know if you like the old Westerns at all.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely.
Big Clint Eastwood guy. Couldn't do the John Wayne. It was a bit older, a bit too old for me. I couldn't take I couldn't take. It still happens a bit in Clint Eastwood when they get shot, but I liked the Fistful of Dollars, Few Dollars More, Good, Bad, and the Ugly. You know them all, right? So the premise is pretty standard. I feel like there's only 6 total premises of Western stories, but it starts with this old man who's like this old time sheriff, saved for this town for forever, but his kid is this bounty hunter who's really famous, your Clint Eastwood archetype, and he's out there doing his thing. And the guy's talking about his whole life to a guy, kind of like in The Unforgiven, how the guy has given his life story to the guy, and he talks about his kid and how proud of he is, and he used to hang out with these other kids, and they broke off, and his kid went one way, and these other kids went the other way. Then he's called over to an active bank robbery. He goes over, and sure enough, it's those other kids that went one way, and his son went the other. And he tries to talk him down, like, hey, like I won't hang you if you guys just like, let's knock it off here, guys. And they kill him. They shoot him dead in the street. And sure enough, the kid comes back to hunt down his old friends. That's so it's a pretty easy trope there, right? It's been done a million times, but I like the idea of like, the music and the standoffs and all that. It gets to me, right? So
is it actually a Western in itself, or is it like a Star Wars Western?
No, Western. I'm done with Star Wars. Awesome. I wanted to do the Star Wars thing because I love it, and I wanted to create a base and I could use it and tell the story. And I just had the idea and I had to put it to paper, and that's what it was. But now that I have that, I can probably try to kickstart or crowdsource a new thing. So anyway,
hey, Carter, I don't know if you're interested, but if you ever need to take a break from the generating creativity content, is the Dark Horse did a comic book series called Star Wars Dark Times, which takes place like right after Order 66. And basically what they did with it is they did a really great blend of some of those classic Clint Eastwood Western stories, but then they combined the Star Wars universe. And it's about a Jedi trying to figure out like what his role in the universe now that like Jedi or that concept is no longer permitted, and trying to find meaning in that. And for a series, like, and it does come to a definite end too, which is good. And it was just a really great read. We were actually digging into it for Star Wars Fallen Order, where I'm like, if this takes place in the same time,
that's what I forgot.
You guys really need to read this series, because like it nails a lot of the really good concepts that Jedi would have been struggling with around that time. Anyway, Dark Times, Dark Horse.
I will. Okay, I will. I'm sorry. Fallen Order. I loved Fallen Order. Okay. I didn't love the story of Jedi Survivor and Fallen Order. The only thing I love Fallen Order. I thought it was awesome. I was looking forward to being absolutely murdered by Vader at the end. It didn't happen. It pissed me off. I don't think anyone should walk away from Vader. I thought Singer should have died. I thought I should have died. I thought everyone should have died in a violent death, because it was horrifying. When you ran into Vader at the end, it's like, oh my God, he's here. We're dead. There's nothing we could do. And he survived, which I hated. But what did you do in Fallen Order? What was your part in that?
I had to write some of the chapters and scenes involving whatever the big MacGuffin was that everyone was in search. I've already spaced on it.
Like a map of the Jedi or something?
Yeah, and the reason I remember it is because I asked the lead writer to please not let me write these scenes because of how I felt about that particular plot element. And then he just gave me all of them. So I'm like, all right. And then there was plotline revisions. I also did, oh my God, how can Dathomir, the Dathomir planet.
What a great
I put draft. Well, I don't know if my draft actually survived, because I never went back and played Fallen Order after. I had to switch off to something else almost immediately after that. But I did enjoy writing Dathomir very much, because I love that whole setup. And there were parts about the Fallen Order storyline that I did like. There were other parts that I had issues with and I thought could have been done a lot cleaner. But overall, I mean, it was a really good single-player Star Wars game, so I can't really, argue.
Yeah, it was good. I liked it a lot. It was fun. It was a good time. Was Dathomir? Did you have any inspiration from in your ideas for it from the True Sith at all? Or no? No. Okay, just fresh. Okay.
It was solely based on what I'd seen in Clone Wars, because a lot of the stuff in Dathomir was so specific to what the Clone Wars series.
I didn't watch those. Yeah, I got you.
Actually, I got to tell you, Rebels and the Clone Wars animated series aren't too bad, Carter.
I watched. I did watch like half of Clone Wars. I watched the last season. It was pretty good. I watched. I did watch the first couple seasons of Rebels because it was fresh, new, exciting Star Wars. But it was too. You lose me with like with the kiddie stuff, and I understand it's a cartoon, it's supposed to be, but it just pulls me out of it. I'm like, okay, here we go. The droid is whacking a trooper in the head with a gun, and I don't know, but I like
there's a Mandalorian tagger in the party, and you're like, does that really work?
Yeah, exactly. I'm more like how should I say? I was trying to be creative with that. I'm not creative enough. I was making another Aaron K reference, but it's all good. It's all good, No, I prefer when my guy can take out 4 Brotherhood of Steel members easily, but gets worked against a Rad Scorpion. I prefer those kind of stories. Okay, so anyway, it's just the way it goes. Yeah.
Carter, you have this amazing stealth bomber technique with your jokes, where you let them fly, and then it takes me a few months where I'm like, oh shit, that torpedo's coming towards me. Like, oh my god.
well, Chris, this is how I'm all the time. So imagine me being in like a corporate meeting and I'm doing this and no one's laughing. And then like a second later, 1 out of 5 will start cracking up. And I'm like, oh, it's embarrassing. I do. Yeah. I'm happy for you that you're not involved in the old corporate world there, Chris. That's a win for you, buddy.
It made life a lot easier, and I feel like my soul's intact.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Otherwise, you'd be plotting on how to nuke the entire world because it's the corporations.
Or they'd be silencing me.
Or they'd be silencing you. Yeah, exactly.
We can't talk about that now, or else I'm like, okay, well, I'm glad we're all cooperating here.
Yeah. Anyway, well, hey, much love to you. Appreciate it. Anytime you want to talk, man, I'm down to talk anytime.
Well,
so
I really appreciate it. For some reason, it's just been a lot of Fallout talk recently, so I'm glad we had some of that, but also all the Star Wars stuff too. And I really appreciate you giving me the invite to be on the show.
Right on. Well, appreciate it. Any projects people should keep an eye on? I don't want to forget that. Anything you're doing coming up, you want people to know about?
Yeah. So there is one RPG that I'm working on. I'm working on a few projects which are better off being revealed by the directors.
Sure.
And when that happens, everyone will understand why, because those are bigger people than me. But for the one RPG that I'm working with Republic Games, I'm very excited about it because the CEO and the lead designer, Adam Williams, he came up with this really great mechanic concept for the RPG that I had never seen before. And like after many years of seeing the same stuff over and over again, to see that element, I just got really excited about it. And he was like, well, if you want to come on board, I'm like, fuck yeah, I do. So like we're working on that right now. It's still a ways off from being announced, but I'm really enjoying it. And it's a very, very cool concept.
Right on. And then they can find you on Twitter. So just Chris Avellone?
Instagram, or
you'll find him. Look his name up. You'll find him. Yeah, exactly. No, right on. All right, guys. Till next time. Later.